Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
Copyright disclaimer. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles did not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material and use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. copyright law.
Estamos aquí, oye, que estamos aquí. Mírame, estamos aquí. Desde hace rato, cuando ustedes llegaron, ya estaban las huellas de nuestros zapatos. Se robaron hasta la comida de gato y todavía se están lamiendo el plato. Bien encabronados con estos ingratos. Hoy le doy duro a los tambores hasta que me acusen de maltrato. Si no entiendes el dato, pues te lo tiro en cumbia, bossa nova, tango o vallenato. A lo Calaboy y bambú, bien frontú, con sangre caliente como Timbuktu. Estamos dentro del menú. Tupac se llama Tupac por Tupac Amaru del Perú. América no es solo USA, papá. Esto es desde Tierra del Fuego hasta Canadá. Hay que ser bien bruto, bien hueco. Es como decir que África es solo Marruecos. Estos canallas se les olvidó que el calendario que usan se lo inventaron los mayas con la Valdivia precolombina. Desde hace tiempo, este continente camina, pero ni con toda la marina pueden sacar de la vitrina la peste campesina. Esto va para el capataz de la empresa. El machete no es solo para cortar caña, también es para cortar cabeza.
Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerdes. Si quieres mi machete te muerde. Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerdes. Si quieres mi machete te muerde. 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 Te muerde, te muerde.
Los paramilitares, las guerrillas, los hijos del conflicto, las pandillas, las listas negras, los falsos positivos, los periodistas asesinados, los desaparecidos, los narcogobiernos, todos los que robaron, los que se manifiestan y los que se olvidaron, las persecuciones, los golpes de estado, el país en quiebra, los exiliados, el peso devaluado, el tráfico de droga, los carteles, las invasiones, los emigrantes sin papeles, 5 presidentes en 11 días, disparo a quemarropa por parte de la policía, más de 100 años de tortura, la nova trova cantando en plena dictadura. Somos la sangre que sopla la presión atmosférica. Gambino, mi hermano, esto sí es América.
Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerdes. Si quieres mi machete te muerde. Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerdes. Si quieres mi machete
Y va de nuevo mi tono.
Mexicano bandido, todo el barrio prendido. Siempre ando bien cuido, siempre poniendo ruido. Mexicanos al grito de guerra, yo defiendo mi tierra. No me dejo de nadie, yo cuido a los míos, mi raza se aferra. Soy mexicano, esa es mi bandera, yo la levanto por donde quiera. Verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera. El barrio prendido ya quemó afuera. Soy mexicano, esa es mi bandera, yo la levanto por donde quiera. Verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera. El barrio prendido ya quemó afuera.
Me voy tendido, me voy empinando mi bote. Un poco mareado por la bebida y el borlote. Me tiene hasta la riata la gente con su mitote. Pero me despreocupo, me pelan todo el garrote. Me para la chota, ya es por mi apariencia. Que hay tanto delito, que hay tanta demencia. Yo no cargo nada, no más mi presencia. Pinche puerco joto, atente a las consecuencias. Si no topa el poli en breve nos para en la calle. No puede salir uno conmigo porque ya hay detalle. No quiere que conteste, quiere que yo solo calle. Quiere mi dinero pero que chinga su madre. A la dica este sistema nos quieren ver abajo. Pero tumbar gente, quien les dijo que es trabajo. Puro chingar al indio, váyanse mucho al carajo. Loco no me rajo, lo bueno porque
se armó la alianza más pesada del país. Todo el mundo ya conoce las rimas de estos MCs. Pa' ponerme más feliz, unos paisas de hachís. Mis paisas en el gabacho, bien truchas con la polis. Loco en Guanajuato, con los ojos bien tumbados. De coto con el quesada, rifando por todos lados. Atento si prendo un blunt en cabina cuando grabo. Represento Nuevo León, junto a mi carnal el Davo. Cuando voy pa' Jalisco, el pasado está olvidado. Con el perro de la C, bien grifo, pedo y enfiestado. Chécate mi banderón, unido como había soñado. Bien bajado ese balón, compa lefty bien bajado. Puro hip hop mexa, hasta que amanezca. Pásenme un mezcal y que no se apague la yesca. Ya saben que aquí andamos pilas pa' lo que se ofrezca. Si escribo estas rimas es pa' que se enorgullezca.
Verde marihuana, blanca cocaína, roja la sangre que escurre de una nueva herida. Yo salí de la ruina, nunca se me olvida. Con disciplina y respeto sigo en siempre la movida. Ando bien high, la vida es un freestyle. Disfruta lo que hay, vivo entre el bien y el mal, carnal. Crazy life todo el día, viendo live. Pinto tu barda con spray, lo que canto es real. Azules y rojas las sirenas que me persiguen. No suben pa' la virgen, salen todos cuando chifle. Mi barrio no lo pisen, que andamos todos grises. Maldito policía, no quiero que me revises. Prende la mota en canala o en hitter. Ando con mi flota y el dealer. Tenemos lo que se te ofrezca, tú nada más pide. Me dijo mi madre que de la envidia me cuide.
Soy mexicano, esa es mi bandera, yo la levanto por donde quiera. Verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera. El barrio prendido ya quemó afuera. Soy mexicano, esa es mi bandera, yo la levanto por donde quiera. Verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera. El barrio prendido ya quemó afuera.
Ya, ábranse cabrones, llegó el mexicano partiendo sin necesidad de palancas. Todos jugamos en la misma liga, yo soy titular, tú ves desde la banca. Disfruto cada cosa que me pasa, colaboro y mi carrera se levanta. El mismo cabrón que antes no tenía nada, se la pasa viajando y dice que canta. Por eso me caga enfermarme de la garganta. Pero aguanta, traigo mata natural y humo de planta. 2, 3 cabrones dando lata y yo haciendo más plata. De esto la vida se trata y pa' que sepas no es barata. MC da bolos desbarata con cada escalón que sube. Yo tuve la suerte de hacerme fama en YouTube. Hay 2, 3 raperos de antaño que me bajé de su nube. Los mandé pa' su casa y de premio hasta les pagué el Uber. Si alguien me tira es porque sabe bien que domino el negocio y quiere de mi parte. No quiero darlas de grande, pero si me tiras la neta me toca humillarte. Soy capitán, llevo el estandarte. Somos muy pocos los que hacemos arte. Este flow si es de Marte, tú dale like y comparte.
México lindo y bandido, diario a Diosito le pido que me cuide a la familia si un día el cora ya no late. Estoy bendecido porque me cuidan los míos. Orgullosamente mexa, estamos locos de remate. Jaque mate, no hable de volar si viene gateando. La cosa por la frontera se pone violenta, no importa el rango. Toda la raza jalándole duro, si hay algo seguro es la muerte en donde ando. Sudor y vi la sangre en la frente, los de alzada controlando, se roban la atención. Ya saben quiénes son, vatos locos con sazón, como el de un corridón. No quiera tomarme el pelo si ando todo pelón, levantando la bandera, viva México, cabrón.
Es el perrito de la C. La bandera con un águila, Simón, mi tierra es esta. Me vale si mi piel o si mi acento les molesta. Acá jalan horas extras, nunca duermen la siesta. Están los que van pa'l jale y los que la viven de fiesta. Otros que en el pintón se tatúan de corazón. 3 colores en el pecho, morirían por su nación. Aunque su puto gobierno los puso en la situación de no terminar la escuela y terminar en la prisión. ¡Viva México, ladrones! ¿Qué hubo, les presidente? Ya saben que por mí policías chinguen a 20. Y ahí están mis 20 pa' la cagua. Aguas, que es tierra caliente de Chiapas hasta Chihuahua. Wow, 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 yipi yo, yipi yucas. Buenas, Montequín, Aguas, Tijuas y San Lucas. San Luis Potoyes, Mataulipas, La Puebluca. Dime si o no, loco, acá tienen lo que buscas.
Soy mexicano, esa es mi bandera. Yo la levanto por donde quiera. Verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera. El barrio prendido ya quemó afuera. Soy mexicano, esa es mi bandera. Yo la levanto por donde quiera. Verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera. El barrio prendido ya quemó afuera.
Puro hip.
El autor viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La debilidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
Ok. Hey, for you.
¡Viva México, cabrones!
Hey, Haterville that's listening in.
Fuck that puto. Fuck that puto.
BHI. FBA. Aboriginal bullshit. And all you other idiots. We got a lot to share today, fam, and I know I went early, but you know what? I kind of have a day off. I have 2 items to do, max 3, but that's really it. So I'm going to take advantage of the moment. Let me see if I can switch. There you go, right there. Okay. Let me get to it. What's up? What up? My bad. That's gonna hurt. Hold on, my bad. I was looking at those buttons. All right, so some of you are going to be here saying, like, look at this racist bastard. Fuck you. That's what I'm going to say to you. You see, I got triggered. I've been triggered for some time, and I took a little bit of break. But you know what, man? I'm sick of this shit, bro. Yeah, and here's a very funny part. First ones to complain to the white man when you don't like what we say, or even when they say what stuff and you don't like what they say. You complain. As a matter of fact, you complain about your own people saying shit to you to the point that you make them put down their videos that speak facts and truth, or you're even like make it difficult to find certain links that not too long ago we were just reading. Links that speak about you. But before we move forward to the class, I want to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you brothers and sisters from afar. Appreciate you guys that show a lot of hate towards this channel because it only solidifies the facts and truth that really are out here and nobody likes to talk about. This is the only channel that goes that far. I'm the only one. But you know what? I guess it's just a matter of work. We have to continue digging through all the bullshit and bringing bullshit to light and making sure that nobody falls for the fucking okie doke trap of the same old fucking empathy towards certain people as if they had nothing to do with slaving people since 1492 and killing them by diseases. We're going to prove that today. We're going to prove what I mean by this black plague disease. And it's not just physical disease. We're going to be speaking facts on this shit. I know the political climate right now is, oh my God, you're so... No, F no. This has had nothing to do with politics. Nothing to do with politics. We're strictly speaking about biblical history regarding certain people and how the Bible said certain people would act a certain way and do certain things, claim to be certain somebodies, and then lie about the fact that they had nothing to do with it. That's speaking in the Bible. For example, let me start off with this video right here. This is what I'm talking about, fam. And it was, look, I've been saying this since 2022, 2021. I'm like, yo, man, they're going to turn on y'all. They're going to turn on y'all. Just stop doing that 12 chart bullshit. Watch, these wobbles are going to try to claim they're Hebrews now. I'm telling you, and they're going to... And here we go. I was never wrong, never lied to y'all. And if anybody feels froggy about debating this topic, by all means, please do. Please do. You're feeling froggy, please do. Let's go.
Ass people don't deserve nothing in America. You understand? Nothing. You don't even deserve to sit around me. You understand that shit? You don't deserve nothing out this. You dirty, uneducated. You don't deserve to be around me. I'm being respectful. You get the fuck up. Get up. Get up. Get up. Get up. Nah. Now you gotta get up. Get the up. Get up. Get up. Now you stand up, ho. Yep. Now you stand up. Now you stand up, bitch. I don't give a know where you at in America. We ain't in your country, we in my country, bitch. Yeah, sit over there with your people. Yeah, with your people.
I want that to sink in, family. Remember the Rosa Parks story, which is total bullshit, right? But they use that to create empathy towards certain people. Willie Lynch letter is a fucking lie. Rosa Parks story is a fucking lie. We need to stop letting people lie to us. Just like the racist fucking white folks that we got to deal with. And those Nicky Chicky Fuenteses that claim to be Mexican. Yo, listen, this whole thing about, oh, I'm Mexican. No. Just because you were born in this land doesn't make you a native of this land. You're either a Mexica, Arawak, Taino, or you ain't. It's that simple. But we're not done yet. Oh, we're just getting started. Shit. Let's go.
I'm glad we killed them. W Buffalo soldiers. Fuck Native Americans. Our land now. Fuck Native.
You can suck a dick.
Have a job ass. You don't even love your own women. You get on this app and bash your own Black American women. You hate your own people.
Women.
Yeah, you hate your own people. You don't even.
2/3 of you was not gonna wake up, and I see that crystal clear. 2/3 of you so-called Negroes are too far in love with the damn white man, his woman and children, or you're too damn much in love with the African, their women and children.
This to you guys, and I really never touched on this, so I'm going to touch on it now. For you raza that was born in Mexico, or you were not, there is something in Mexico that we knew of the so-called Spaniards, okay? let me remind you of this story. And you guys will know this, like Jeremias, buenos dias. If you're listening, I know you're working, but you would know what I'm talking about. Okay, us, raza, in Mexico, we used to say, los pinches españoles eran bien cogelones, right? We knew that the Spaniards, they loved to mix with other people. We also understood that the Anglos did not predominantly do that. See, we knew in Mexico, like, pinches españoles cogelones, way. Like, just fucking around and leaving babies behind. We're like, what the fuck are you guys about, right? And we knew that the British Anglo-looking people, they didn't really do that. We understood that. So now that we are getting history as to who the fuck you guys are, where the fuck you guys came from, and a big portion of your history, how you like to hide that shit. No. We understand now why the Spaniards, the first people that came here to colonize, weren't all necessarily Gringolandians. No, it was negros like these motherfuckers right here. Okay? This is what I'm telling you, family. In Mexico, we understood this. Pinches españoles cogelones. Pinches portugueses cogelones, güey. We knew the British didn't do that. And now clearly we understand why. We just didn't know that it had to do with race, raza. Right. Now we're getting it, fam. So this has never changed for certain people. Creating babies, leaving them behind.
Mr. Quinn, 2/3 of you so-called Negroes are too far in love with the damn white man, his woman and children. Are you too damn much in love with the African, they women and children? Are you too damn much in love with the East Indian, they women and children? You're in love with everybody but your own women and your own children and each other. Your woman loves everybody but you. And the ones of you that can't get that corrected, you're going to die. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of your black women are going to die. I see that. I crystal see that. A lot of them going to die. Only about 10% of them going to make it. 90% of them ain't no damn good. I'm going to tell you plainly, and the Bible says the same thing. 90% of the black women ain't no damn good, and they going to die.
Cheers. Cheers to more light-skinned kids. Cheers to more light-skinned kids. Really, cheers to more light-skinned kids.
I'm a pass. I'm not into dark skins.
Dark skins ain't my type, but I smash just to see what it's like, you feel me?
Cause you thick.
Okay. Period.
You black and
Now finally.
Louisiana, you know I smash. You're free. What your name is?
Zidane.
You look like you cool, but you ain't my type.
Look at your daughter and look at my daughter.
Okay. One quick thing. It's kind of like the song that we have that Lil Baby just dropped. They did not stop making bad bitches when they made you red bone, light skin. Yeah, she only 22, whatever he said. He mentioned her being red bone and light skin like 18 times in one song, right? Like, I mean, we could think of a lot of Lil Wayne verses where he was talking about a yellow bone.
I need a long head, thick, red bone.
Thank you. Exactly.
It's all throughout the music. These men, stop it. We are infatuated with light skin. And women, stop it. Men are... Y'all like light-skinned dudes, too. Light-skinned niggas ain't never went out of style.
Oh, shit.
Bruh.
Oh, that's gonna hurt. Damn. We're just getting started. And again, this is regarding all kinds of plague, not just disease like smallpox, which you guys brought. No. We're talking about all kinds of diseases. Now, family, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Do you remember this class? This is right. Okay. You see this article right here? Procepius, right? This article right here. Guess what? They fucking took that shit down, family. Now I can't even access that article anymore. Look at this shit. Look at this shit right here. It's blocked. So what we learned, and I'm glad I caught it on time and I jumped on it right away. Because guess what? The same young man that brought up this article, right? And then I'm going to let it run because it's not showing up. The same young man that did this article, right? Also did it on Instagram. Now watch this. The Instagram video is also gone. See? It's gone, fam. So complaining, eventually, like, it's just what it is. Me personally could not believe that fucking link went down like that, bro. And you know why that link went down? Because of this, family. Let's go. I speeded it up because I don't want you to forget. Never forget who the fuck they are. Y'all want to be Moors? I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it. Let's go. The Vandal Wars of Procopius. This is around 500 AD, okay? 500 AD. Now, here it's going to explain something. It says, Solomon took over the army in Libya, but in view of the fact that the Moors had risen against him, as had been told previously, and that everything was in suspense. Now, this isn't the Solomon of like the Bible. This is a Solomon that was ruling the North Africa at that time. But the Moors were fighting against him because he was supporting the Romans. Okay? So as you can see, this is what it's actually talking about. Now, I want to make this more thing also to remind y'all, which is so funny. You cannot use a historical Bible or historical book like the Bible, claim that, yo, my God, I didn't know these slavers. We didn't know their religions. We had no idea of their language. Fuck no. Y'all know each other for some time. So that right there does not apply to y'all. Deuteronomy 28, please watch that shit from your history. Y'all known each other for quite some time. The Bible says contradictory to that the people that would come from afar, from the end of the earth, would not know anything about, let's say, we would not know anything about them, not their language, religions, or their customs. Latin did not come into an understanding around us until like probably what? 200, what? Fuck, man. No, Latin's been, let's go back. Roman, Spanish, between 200 BC all the way through 200 or 300 or 400 AD. You started seeing the Latin language migrating into other things. Let's continue. Very clear to you. Here we're going to confirm that the Moors knew who they were. Okay? I'll show you this right here. It says here, now at the time, the whole country along the sea from Zidon as far as the boundaries of Egypt was called Phoenicia. And one king in ancient times held sway over it as it agreed by all who have written the earliest accounts of the Phoenicians. In that country there dwelt very populous tribes, the Gergesites and the Jebusites, and some others with others names by which they are called in the history of the Hebrews. Now, when these nations saw that the invading general was an irresistible prodigy, they immigrated from their ancestral homes and made their way to Egypt, which adjoined their... And I'm showing you this as a reminder, family. We're not like going over the same video again. This actual link that I use, which a young man presented to us, you can't access no more. I'll even give it to y'all, so you guys can check it out for yourselves. If you can make it work, by all means, please let me know. It doesn't work anymore. And then again, the Instagram video, it's not there anymore. So let's continue. The country, and finding there no place sufficient for them to dwell in there, since there had been a great population in Egypt from ancient times, they proceeded to Libya. But these are the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, right? All of those 7 nations of Canaan. And they established numerous cities and took possession of the whole Libya as far as the Pillars of Hercules. And they lived even up to my time using the Phoenician tongue. They also built a fortress in Numidia, where now is a city called Tigris. In that place of 2 columns made of white stone near by the great spring, having Phoenician letters cut in them, which say in the Phoenician tongue, we are they who fled from before the face of Joshua, the robber, the son of Nun. There were also other nations settled in Libya before the Moors. I don't really have to try that hard, family. I don't have to try that hard. What up, Joe? What up, dope? Good to have you, brother. Hey, shalom, bro. Proverbs 18:6. Let me see what you got. Proverbs 18:6 says, a fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calleth for strokes. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snares of his soul. Yeah, basically, it's like you bite your own tongue. You know what I mean? Like you trip yourself up. You admit the actual flaws in your wickedness, or in your so-called righteousness. I'm sorry. There were also other nations settled in Libya before the Moors, who, on account of having been established from of old, were said to be the children of the soil. So here clearly we see, which is why it's important to know when people like these guys want to say that the Phoenicians, Carthaginians, supposedly there were black people here before us because they discovered this land. Well, then you're saying that you're fucking Canaan. And you're a Hamite. And we were never wrong. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? What do you want me to tell you, Ak? What do you want me to tell you, Ak? Here, I got some videos for you, man. Check it out. And I don't lie in this channel, bro. Y'all take shit personal. I don't. I just study, read, put notes, and I show y'all what I find. Let's go.
Louis Farrakhan, who
Hold on, let me skip real quick because that's not the video that they hit. All right, I don't want to mislead y'all. Hold on, I thought it was right after. Where are you at, kid? I think it's at the end. Hold on, let's see if you're right here. There it goes, right there. Okay, so this video here. Okay, the name of the video. I don't know how Instagram works. But it says the Moors come from a certain place, right? So this Instagram video, which was, you can look, I even had said, bro, that's like the least likes I've ever seen from any one of them providing some history like that. Like, nah, this one, they did not like, they didn't like it at all, that they fucking complained about it. So this is what y'all got rid of. The Procepius link, nobody wants, now all of a sudden we can't access that in this Instagram video. What a fucking coincidence. This young man right here. And look, I you know, like, that's me, right? I'm gonna show him some love. But look how many people have liked him. Negros don't like this shit, dog. Negros hate this fucking truth right here. Y'all hate your own history. And it's so fucking sad that your own people tell you who you guys are and you fucking hate it. Like literally, usually like people like them, you know, when they bring out info, you're like mad, like 30. Hold on. They don't like them because of this. Let's go.
Africa actually come from the land of Canaan. Take this walk with me. In this book called The Vandal Wars, written by the famous Greek historian Procopius, he states the following: it is necessary to tell from the beginning whence the nation of the Moors came to Libya and how they settled there. And when he's talking about Libya, he's talking about the whole continent of what we now call Africa, because historically, the whole continent that we now call Africa was known as Libya. By the way, this map was drawn by another famous historian by the name of Herodotus. Procopius goes on to explain how the Hebrews, under the leadership of Moses, when it passed to another man by the name of Joshua, invaded the land of Palestine and how they took possession of that land. And before Palestine, which is this area here, before it was known as Palestine, it was known as the land of Canaan. Here's where it gets interesting, because another name for the word Canaan is Phoenician or Phoenicia. The Phoenicians emerged directly from the Bronze Age Canaanites. They referred to themselves as Canaanites and their land as Canaan. Modern scholarship generally views the distinction between Canaanites and Phoenicians after 1200 BC as artificial. So now that we got that clear, we can move on with the story.
The distinction between Canaanites and Phoenicians is fake, basically. It's not, it's like, oh no, there's no connection. No, fuck no, y'all the same people.
Procopius then goes on to state that at the same time, the whole country along the sea from Sidon, as far as the boundaries of Egypt, was called what? Phoenicia. Just for further context, Sidon was the firstborn son of who? Canaan, who was the son of Ham, making him Sidon, a great-grandson of Noah. He then states that in that country, Phoenicia, there dwelt very populous tribes, the Girgashites and the Jebusites. And the Girgashites were known as the fifth ethnic group that descended from Canaan. They're also said to have been the ones that settled in the vicinity of what is later known to be Carthage. The Jebusites were identified as a Canaanite tribe that was listed in third place amongst the groups between the biblical Hittites and the Amorites. They originally inhabited the city of Jebus, which later became Jerusalem. So Jerusalem actually belongs to a Canaanite people. Procopius then goes on to state that when these nations, right, the Girgashites, Jebusites, and those that were inhabiting Phoenicia/Palestine or Canaan, when they saw that the invading general was an irresistible prodigy, they immigrated. They migrated from their ancestral homes in Canaan, Phoenicia, and made their way to Egypt, which adjoined their country. And finding no place sufficient for them to dwell in, since they had been a great population in Egypt since ancient times, they proceeded to Libya. So they immigrated from this area here and then down into Egypt, which is around here. There was nowhere for them to dwell, so they moved this way into Libya.
You know what's so ironic about that story right there, family, is that when you consider what Jubilees actually talked about, Jubilees 10, watch this real quick, Jubilees 10:28. As a matter of fact, I'll go back to Jubilees 9. Jubilees 9, it speaks of the division, the portions of each raza. The first ones to Ham, divided amongst his sons. The first portion came from forth for Cush, towards the east, meaning from, let's say, Ethiopia, all the way across to West Africa, okay? So east of Ethiopia is Egypt, so to speak. And east of Egypt, which is Put, right, is like Libya, North Africa. It's where they belong, right? So it says Cush towards the east, and to the west for him Mizraim, and to the west for him Put. Hold on, and to the west of him, and to the west thereof, meaning West Africa, on to the sea for Canaan. Now, in Jubilees 10:28, it speaks of how they did not listen to the portions initially, right? They didn't listen to their father or their brothers. No, they stayed in the land which they renamed Phoenicia. Okay, so then their fathers are telling them in Cush and Mizraim, like, yo, what the hell are you doing, bro? You're going to die by sedition. For sedition, you're trying to steal the land that don't belong to you. Are they not trying to do that today as well? Did they not say, right? Like, nah, y'all ain't natives no more. We the natives, we're the tribes, Curse are you, and curse shall you be beyond all the sons of Noah for the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath. By the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of the Kadash judge, meaning where the division, the portions were given to every single one of us in the presence of Noah, our father. But he did not listen to them. And he dwelt in the land of Lebanon from Hamas to the entry into Egypt, he and his sons until this day. So here we clearly understand now, like the young man is saying, look, these guys started there, but as they were forced to leave, right? They were pushed out by Mizraim. They were pushed out, by Cush, Mizraim, and now they got back to their home. You see now why there is certain people that were enslaved, if they were enslaved, right? Those do not make you a Hebrew history. Matter of fact, I don't believe that the 70 AD fall of Israel is even applicable to any of y'all. Because guess what? When you read Deuteronomy 28, it talks about a nation that you did not know. So if 70 AD means Deuteronomy 28, how the fuck does that work? Because the Romans knew the Jews. And there's no historical evidence that in that fall of 70 AD, there was anything such thing as smallpox either. You see what I'm saying?
He then states that they established numerous cities and took possession of the whole of Libya as far as the Pillars of Hercules. You may know the Pillars of Hercules as the Straits of Gibraltar, which is this little area here between Spain and Morocco. He then states that in Indigenous in Numidia, he says, in that place are 2 columns made of white stone near the great spring, having Phoenician letters cut in them, which say in the Phoenician tongue, we are they who fled before the face of Joshua the robber, the son of Nun. Just for reference, Indigenous of Numidia is here, which is located in present-day Algeria. He then goes on to state that there was a battle that took place between them and their neighbors, meaning the Carthaginians and the Moors, who, as has been said, had come from Palestine before them and are called Moors at the present time. So according to the famous Greek ancient historian Procopius, the Moors actually come from Palestine and are actually Phoenicians/Canaanites.
Ouch. Oh, that's gonna hurt. And here, like I said before to y'all, they got rid of that link. They got rid of it. Now all of a sudden, like I can't even access it. Guaracuya says, this channel was the first to bring up Canaan's migration. Damn right it was. Oh, that's gonna hurt. Obviously, we had brothers that were bringing up and pushing back towards Canaan, but I feel like I went just a little deeper in that. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make me any better. We're all part of this bigger plan. Now, before we continue, I want to show this to you, and I'm not going to read these at all. I'm going to tell you why they want your history. So I want you to take pictures of these books. All right? So this one is one of them, Jews, God, and History, 2nd edition by Max de Mont. Page 371 speaks about them showing up with people with translations, with different understandings of languages, right? Well, with understanding of different languages, I'm sorry. One of them was Hebrew. They knew that the people that were here spoke Hebrew. This is Nexus spoken language, the links between the Maya and Semitic during pre-Columbian times. If you look into these books, you'll see that the name Maya, or at least Balaam Akab, is basically Lord Jacob, right? So all you natives, all called indigenous, revolutionary motherfuckers, look, listen, y'all can't debunk my shit. And I come and I tell you, if you want to debate me, let's go at it. Bring your scholarship from the white man that he gave you, and I'll bring my simpleton ways of just, I'm not a scholar, but I do read, and I think I'm bright enough to debunk your shit too. Here on page 14 confirms the pronunciation, And on page 76 also confirms what I've been saying. Now, in this other page here, La participación judía en los descubrimientos de América, it's a very thin book, Mario Javier Sabat. It's in Spanish, but it clearly states and talks about, confirms what I've been saying. They knew who we were. They understood biblical, theology. They had an idea, even in their Talmud, that there were people hiding that were Israelites. So you can see this right here. So one of the reasons why I show this, fam, is because this is really why they want your fucking history. There's no other reason for it. It ain't your feathers. It ain't your tamales. It ain't your cilantro. It ain't your fucking tejuino. It ain't your sandalias. It ain't your mariachi. They don't give a fuck about none of that. They don't care about that. They want to be those people. Once more, the character of a wicked nation will always come about again. You know what I'm saying? It's bound to happen. Now, pandemic and endemic. I want to make sure that we emphasize this because pandemic diseases means a complete outbreak, right? So epidemic is an outbreak of diseases, right? That is sudden, localized incidence of a disease, right? Now, endemic, it says if a disease lingers for a long time as a epidemic or pandemic, it may eventually become endemic to an area, meaning it's locally, right? So, for example, smallpox is or was an endemic disease. After it left Africa, it became a pandemic disease. When it hit us and we experienced it, then it became an epidemic disease. Once again, endemic is smallpox, which came from most predominantly West Africa. So Africans brought that shit here. Pandemic is when it actually goes everywhere. And epidemic is what actually occurred here in the Americas. And I've asked any single wobble, every single one of y'all, prove to us, when did you guys get smallpox in America? And you know what happens? Bing! That's all you hear.
Between the first Europeans arriving in 1492 and the Victorian Age, the indigenous population of the New World dropped by at least 90%. The cause? Not the conquistadors and company. They killed lots of people, but their death count is nothing compared to what they brought with them. Smallpox, typhus, tuberculosis, influenza, bubonic plague, cholera, mumps, measles, and more.
The history in the past, and people very freely blame the white man for all the diseases that came to the Americas. You know what I mean? Black folks specifically, not us, but black folks specifically kept reminding people that y'all were dirty. You brought diseases. You brought smallpox. You brought French pox. You brought all the pops and shit. And then we find out that that's not necessarily true. And I'm not here to defend them whatsoever. Y'all defend yourselves. What I'm here to do is talk about facts. These diseases that came, who really brought these motherfucking diseases? It wasn't just the white man family. They brought French pox and all the other things. But smallpox, what actually decimated our people, wasn't brought by the gringo. It was brought by the black man. The West Africans predominantly, endemic in Sierra Leone, who more likely are not claiming to be natives and are probably 40% Anglo. Who knows who their daddy is? Can't guarantee it no more, fam, that their daddy is black or whatsoever. Like, for example, the Tate brothers, those guys look like fucking white people, bro. Their dad is black. Their mom is white. And y'all know the Bible says it's off your father. So as of right now, those white-looking people, they're black or Africans.
From those first explorers to the coastal tribes, then onward the microscopic invaders spread through a hemisphere of people with
to really, really focus on that right there.
No defense.
Look at that, fam.
Against them.
Look at that, fam. That's really what occurred. After 1492, we did die by the sword. We died through getting eaten by dogs, getting stomped, burned. That did occur. But what really killed us and why they beat us It's because of this dirty ass shit right here. So instead of going around saying the white man's a dirty man, you should look at yourselves. Both of y'all were dirty bastards. Those are the facts. Don't get emotional. See, we're going to bring receipts here. And I'm not defending gringos. But hey, Mr. White Man, just to let you know, you didn't bring smallpox, okay? I'll give you that. You brought the other shit. Let's go.
Tens of millions died. These germs decided the fate of these battles long before the fighting started. Now ask yourself, why didn't the Europeans get sick? If New Worlders were vulnerable to Old World diseases, then surely Old Worlders would be vulnerable to New World diseases. Yet there was no Americapox spreading eastward, infecting Europe and cutting the population from 90 million to 9.
90 million to 9. Now, I want to read this to y'all because this is a channel where we do emphasize these things here. In Ecclesiastes, chapter 10, verse 13, let me simplify it. Let's see if it says it the way it should. They start out, walk, still talking in the pure man. There we go. This is a simple way. Ecclesiastes 10:13 says, they start out with silly talk and end up with pure madness. The beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is mischievous and madness. Remember, we were never told these things here. We were always told otherwise. It was always someone else's fault, right? Point the finger at someone else. It's kind of like killers, like serial killers, the people that like to kill. There are certain people that will do the killing and then assist in trying to catch the killer. Like, oh, I know, look, I'll help you, I'll help. And it's the entire time it was them. The entire time. Sirach 21:16 says, the talking of a fool is like a burden in the way, but grace shall be found in his lips of the wise. You see that? And what this means is, like, if you actually study and you speak on these things, right, it'll be a burden to these fools. That's why they don't come to this channel, fam. That's why they don't fuck with this channel. Verse 18, as is a house that is destroyed, so is the wisdom to a fool. And we know now why we see this plague, this negro plague. And the knowledge of the unwise is as talk without sense. You want to know why? Because here, remember, they keep saying that it was certain people, supposedly white folks. A lot of our gente died from this. And scripturally speaking, it even reminds us that too. In case you don't know this, before I go into another video, Isaiah 6:13 talks about the being minimized to a 10%. This is why you need to understand the scriptures. It says, verse 12, Isaiah 6:12, and the Lord had removed them far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. You see that? And the Lord have removed removed men far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. So here we see now that the house of the Israelites, the Hebrews, okay, is going to be sent away. And in that land, they're going to be forsaken, a great forsakening. Watch, but in it shall be a 10th, and it shall return, and shall be eaten as a teal tree, as an oak whose substance in them when they cast their leaves, so the holy seed shall be substance thereof. So it says here that the 10th will still be here, will still return, will still multiply, but will be eaten by what? Their religion, their history, their bullshit, their lies. I mean, for example, today, we got raza worshiping some stupid fucking Virgin Mary, who Sumarraga in 1500 brought, and taught us some dumb shit. But ahí tienen pendejos mexicanos, güey, de rodillas. Ay, mi pobre virgencita. That shit is a lie, fam. The Virgin Mary never fucking showed up. Juan Diego's a total bullshit story lie. It was Juan Sumarraga, that damn Jesuit bishop, that decimated our history, killed most of our elders, and made sure to tell everybody, Don't write anything about these people. This is what I'm talking about. Be it eaten in this doctrine of bullshit. But the 10th part will still remain and become a substance. The holy seed shall be the substance thereof. Meaning what? Here, I'll simplify it even better for you unlearned. Even if one person out of 10 remains in the land, he too will be destroyed. Remember the Deuteronomy 28:48? He will be like the stump of a tree that has been cut down. The stump represents a new beginning for God's people. Let me show you a little bit of this, and that's it.
Had Americapox existed, it would have rather dampened European ability for transatlantic expansion.
Had it not existed. So the only reason we fell was, obviously it's scriptural, but a lot of it has to do with what? With what? Worshipping other demons. Or just worshiping demons, bro. We had a certain way of being, man. And I believe that a lot of the tribes that went against the MESHIACHAs, you motherfuckers just didn't like order, bro. You just wanted to rebel and do your own shit. This is why you went with the white man and the black man to help them destroy the majority of our people. And we see them even today. They vote for Trump, you know what I'm saying? They totally fall for the bullshit. But hold on. Let's remember, though. Now, this is in Spanish. Right, but I guess you can do it now in English. And this is a professor speaking of history regarding who came to the Americas in 1492. Okay, let's go.
Perhaps we have mourned the fall of Tenochtitlan so much that our tears have prevented us from seeing these other indigenous experiences in the face of the Spanish invasion. A second myth is that the armies that arrive are the king's armies, but those that arrive in America are not an army. They are not an army, they are not adventurers. And then we have blacks. Slaves come in and battles. The slaves defend themselves and sometimes even protect their masters and earn their freedom, right? And it turns out that we have black African conquerors who receive encomiendas. Yes, they receive encomiendas and we don't have one or two. We have many cases in all the conquests in North America, Central America and South America. And then we have all the indigenous conquerors who we forget that the conquest would have been impossible without them.
Was the point that I was making. We got sellouts here too. Don't think we don't. Don't think that we don't. Now, before we move forward on this, I want to show y'all certain pages that I saved so we can continue to expose the BS. This shit is sickening, man. Let's go to, I think it's this one. Hold on a second, family. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Hold on. Boom. Oh, not that page. That page. Here we go, right here. So we have here on page 399, okay? And we'll go back a little bit. I'll show you what book is this. The History of the Conquest of Mexico. Okay? So let's go back real quick so I can confirm the book. We have receipts. This is not an emotional channel. We don't go around saying shit just because we feel that way. This is all driven by the fact that our people have been lied to for a long time. William Prescott, The History of the Conquest of Mexico and the History of the Conquest of Peru, on page 399. Go on. So I don't like. I've said it before, family. I don't want to spend the money, but I may have to get a better computer because the media on this is just ridiculous at this point. Okay, 399. We're almost there. There it goes. So on page 399, It mentions on the bottom. Okay. Remember, facts over feelings. The visit of Narvaez left melancholy traces among the natives that made it long remembered. A Negro, West African, in his suite brought with him smallpox. The disease, watch this, spread rapidly in that quarter of the country, and a great number of the Indian populations soon became victims to it. Herrera's History General's December 2nd, this, I guess, I don't know what that means, second book, chapter 10, no, segundo libro, meaning second volume, chapter 10, or, I guess section 10, chapter 6. So we see here Prescott recording the fact that with Narvaez came somebody with smallpox. Right? Let me go back to 165 now. Give me a moment. 165, please. I guess you could just get there. Oh, man. My bad, fam. My bad, way. Oh, my dear Jesus. Just go ahead and go up. 165, coming right up. All right, 166. 165. Please tell me why I even wrote this down. Okay, hold on a second. See, math, father, math, we are respecting the country. What did I even write this down for? Hold on a second. Matt, you know what? I'm not even going to waste too much time on that. Let me continue on this. Let me close this book because it seems like it slows things down. So I don't want to slow anything down. Let me see this page right here. Give me a moment, fam. This is Aboriginal races, I believe. I may be jumping back and forth on this because, again, University of Pittsburgh, and it's the Aboriginal races of North America, right? Comprising biographical sketches of the eminent individuals and yada, yada, yada. Y'all can see that. And I think I know what this means. I think it's page 27. That's right, page 27. Just real quick. And it'll kind of show you like what we're talking about here. Hold on. We can go back to, we'll stop here on the bottom, page 27. In so much that some conceive the Negro is a propeller, a native of Africa, and that those places in Asia inhabit now by Moors, I guess it says, are but the intrusions of Negroes arriving first from Africa, as we have generally conceived in Madagascar and adjoining islands to the main summit islands who retain the same complexion unto this day. But this defect of latitude upon complexion is more remarkable in America, which, although subjected unto both the trophies, yet are not the inhabitants black between or near or under neither. Neither to the southward in Brazil, Chile, or Peru, nor yet to the northward in Hispaniola, Castilla del Oro, or Nicaragua. And although in many parts thereof there be at present swarms of Negroes serving under the Spaniards, yet they were all transported from Africa since the discovery of Columbus, and are not indigenous or proper natives of America. I had to reserve for some other time, but for the sake of going through the points, I wanted to read it now. Now check this out. I'm not going to show the whole video. We're just going to look at some points here because we want to confirm once again, history has been forgotten, and it's time to remind people who they are and what this means. This isn't just a physical disease, family. This type of plague, stealing a heritage, lying about your own, really?
We have all seen the shameful spectacle that platforms like HBO or Netflix are putting on, changing well-known white historical figures for black characters, such as Anne Boleyn. Historical ignorance has left these platforms without content that could be much more powerful and original than making yet another version of the many that have been made about the life of Anne Boleyn or about Les Miserables, changing only the color of their skin and little else. Official history has always portrayed black people as oppressed slaves, forgetting those who held important positions in society throughout history, and there are quite a few. In this video, we will review the most important ones. It is incredible that in the midst of the Black Lives Matter era, a film or series has never been made about Fort Moses, located in Florida during the Spanish Empire, as it was the first town of free blacks in the United States.
Family, that's why it's so funny to me when these people try to talk about this shit. The book Blacks, I think, of Spanish Florida talks a lot about this. In the 13 colonies, had an issue with Floridians because way before 1865, 1820 or 30, whoever claimed to abolish slavery, slavery was already abolished in those regions. That's why you had a lot of Negros in Florida, which is the same ones that claimed to be native. You see what I'm saying? Because they were raping and, slaughtering people. Obviously, you take a woman like ours, as beautiful as they are, you mix with them, well, you're going to have certain features that resemble certain people, right? This is what Wobbles forget. They don't want to talk about the Florida shit. Oh my God, Florida all of a sudden, like it ain't Spaniard. Like, remember that Florida became part of America in the late 1700s, early 1800s, between 1770 through 1812, some shit like that. What are we? Why are we forgetting these things? And this is how they get away with it. Oh, let's not talk about Florida being Spaniard before. Let's not talk about Negros coming in and slaving people. Let's not talk about Negros owning white folks like Irish people, Native, and even their own kind. Those are facts, not feelings, not emotions. This is true fucking history.
Completely self-managed by them. Slaves who had escaped from English America were...
This is what's causing so much confusion. Everybody doesn't want to talk about what occurred after 1492, the fact that Negros were here with white folks too, and they were all up in that area as well, and Negros were actually working with natives so then they could counteract the Spaniards or even the British. You see what I'm saying? All of a sudden now, you Negros don't want to talk about that. Now you want to claim that you are those people. The fucking nerve of you. That's called confabulation, by the way.
Received there, where they found their freedom. This settlement was perfectly articulated within the Spanish Empire and cooperated in the defense of the territory. The English wanted to attack him in part because he gave shelter and freedom to some of their slaves. Francisco Menendez was one of those slaves. He was born in Gambia, was taken to South Carolina, and from there he fled in search of a better life. The history of black military men, even high-ranking ones such as lieutenants, Argentines, or captains in the Spanish Empire, is quite long and is not limited to just a few isolated cases. In any part of Hispanic America, one...
How come you so-called African Americans don't talk about this shit? What about the reparations of those so-called Irish people that you had enslaved? How come? What are you gonna do about that? From 1492 all the way through 1805, right? There was free Negros. Yep, they already had. Yes, sir. They already had freed Afro-Spaniards in Florida. Damn right.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
So Wabos get away with the stupidity, like because people don't like to read history. And you know what? Here's the thing about me: if our gente really did some nasty shit, I'm gonna bring it out. Like if I'm not a Hebrew, then I'm not a fucking Hebrew. So be it. I don't care. It don't matter to me at that point. I can't change shit. If I'm not, I'm not. So what? It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is truth and facts. As long as I fucking understand what history is about, I can have a better vision towards my future and know who the hell I'm dealing with. That's why I don't deal with y'all as a group. Individually is how I treat you. Because I look at you as a group and it's a fucking horrible image. Horrible image. Y'all you looking worse than the gringos, bro. Matter of fact, the thing about the gringos, they don't even want to admit that they've been enslaved by you, which you should realize it. And here's a powerful thing about this message in this channel, family, that you guys might say, oh, why you got problem with Canaan? Because through Canaan, we're going to find out history. You see, we expose them, then the white man gets exposed. Because the white man don't want to accept the fact that negros had them enslaved. They don't want to accept that. They want to claim that since 1492, it was always white folks that came and nah, fuck no, bro. Like in every sport, when white people cannot defeat you, they bring in their help. It's always been that way. Baseball, football, basketball, soccer, you know, even Canada's doing it now.
Could find the so-called battalions of blacks, which were made up of free blacks who worked in the military field, as happened in other empires such as the French. Any of these cases are worth telling stories full of adventures. One of these military men even reached the rank of general in the 19th century, as is the case of Eusebio Puello, born in Hispaniola, today the Dominican.
So then a wobble, you see, we were native. Nah, fucking, bro, you're just mixing with white people, bro. Let's continue.
Republic, who reached the rank of general. He was also decorated with the Order of Charles I of Isabella I, the Catholic, and fought against those who wanted secession from Spain. And much more exciting would be the adventures of the Black Conquerors, because the conquest of America was not just an alliance between white Spaniards and indigenous people. Among those white Spaniards there were also blacks, as well as women and even children. These blacks used to participate in the conquests to earn good money to buy their freedom. In few cases did they achieve much more than that, because the conquerors were compensated with lands, the famous encomiendas, and some of the owners of these encomiendas were these black conquerors.
So, as indigenous, what encomiendas meant. We know as indigenous, right? So all those wars between 1492 and 1812, when we finally set ourselves free, it wasn't just a fight against white people, Spaniard or European. It was also a fight against negros, which predominantly were understood as being mulattoes. Or there was a name, Chupillos, something like that. So that's who we were fighting, to get rid of these Afro-Spaniards, these Anglos, these haters, because they were the ones that were making all these moves and decisions for the most part, family. That's a history that didn't get taught by us, which they had a lot to contribute to the fact that you didn't know how to read and write until, what, 1920 and 30? Because up to 1905, there was prohibition from us reading, printing, or anything, writing anything. So now that's why you got to go back in time and find out what was going on.
The most important names that are known are Juan Valiente, Juan Garrido, Juan Garcia, Juan Bardales, Sebastián Torral, Antonio Perez, Miguel Ruiz, or Gómez de León. And since some blacks and mulattoes were landowners, the paradox arose that they also owned black slaves. In the academic field, there are also stories to tell, such as none other than the first black professor in Europe who obtained his chair in 10th century Spain. We are talking about Juan de Seza, who began his life as a slave and ended up as a...
Matter of fact, I've showed this in Spanish. I never showed it with the translation in English, because now they're doing it. So I'm going to let it play for a bit, fam, because you need to write these books down, okay? Like, you need to write these books down and search them and get them, if you can, and confirm what I'm showing. This is not a book. I mean, this is not a channel to push hate just for the sake of hate. No, this is a channel that pushes back against time, bullshit, and I don't want to say the word. I was going to say the G damn thing. And the disgusting behavior of a nation of people that has no appreciation for our support, but are very quick to point out when you do something wrong to them. Sheesh.
Professor of grammar at the University of Granada. He was called Juan Latino because of his extraordinary command of Latin. He became a
Emily, this is where Latino comes from, the word Ladino, which is basically a African Spaniard, or, basically that. So if you call yourself a Latino, that means you're one of these people. That means you're a African Spaniard or African bloodline or some of that shit, right? This is why it's important to know, don't call yourself Latino or Hispanic. Y'all Mexicas, bro. Because this is a continent of the Mexicas, and then broken down into different names, Arawak, Taino, sort of like those sort of things. You understand what we're saying? We're not excluding nobody here with that name. But this Juan Latino came from Ladinos, which is predominantly people that were how can I assimilate it to the Spaniard way? You see what I mean? But it was predominantly mostly targeted towards mulattoes, negros and blancos and shit, with Spanish so-called descent.
Respected professor in his community, married a lady of high society, and even had a relationship with Philip II's brother, Juan de Austria. He wrote several publications, becoming the only African writer of the Spanish Renaissance and the first professor in the West. His writings were admired by important figures such as Miguel de Cervantes, who mentions him in his prologue to Don Quixote, or Lopez de Vega, who admired him so much that he said he wanted to be the white Juan Latino.
Right here, this is Acosta, and he wrote, Los hijos de los negros, etiopios, right? Educados, caso extraño, en palacios salen de ingenio tan pronto y tan dispuestos para todo que, quitando aparte el color, se les tomaría por uno de nuestros. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that's exactly why Sephardics have nothing to do with us. Those are even converts as well, and I can prove it, but that's not the topic. But thank you, though. That's right. Sephardic spoke Latino. That's exactly it. It's not a Castellano language. It's a language outside of Castellano. You see what I mean, family? You need to really learn your history.
Another story of overcoming obstacles worthy of a film. The 17th century was very prolific for mulattoes, as it was when the most graduates were awarded from Latin American universities. A book by the Colegio de Mexico summarizes the difficulties faced by students of humble origins, including mulattoes, indigenous people, and whites, studying at university, since the elites did not like people of ignoble origins studying with them at university.
And who were the elites at that time? It wasn't just white people, fam. It wasn't your typical white Spaniard. Eran negros como ellos, güey. It was mulatto-looking people that didn't look nothing like you, hated indigenous people. So the elites were never just white. They were black and white, fam. That's why once we freed ourselves from all these nations, predominantly Anglos and Africans, this is why you see such a gap. Like, how come Mexico, like, what occurred between 1492 and up until 18-something? What was going on in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, before 1812? What occurred in those lands before 1760? So remember, when you hear the 13 colonies, everybody's, the 13 colonies, everybody lived there. No, there was just the 13 colonies of Anglos predominantly, and then everybody around them was not predominantly them. You had French, Spaniards, Africans, Arabs living outside of them. But you see, that history is not talked about because it doesn't benefit the Anglo, and nor does it benefit the so-called Afro. Let's go.
One of these mulattoes became very famous. We are talking about José Manuel Valdés, who studied medicine and became a professor at the University of San Marcos in Lima. He was a member of the Royal Medical Academy of Madrid in the early 19th century. He fought for the independence of Peru and became the first black member of parliament in the Republic of Peru. But if you are looking for black female protagonists, don't worry, Netflix fans, because in the Spanish Empire there are stories for all tastes of political correctness. The presence of African women buried inside the temple tells us precisely how African women had access to a series of spaces that we initially thought were exclusive to Europeans. Most likely, a large part of this African population was not slaves. It was a free population that participated in these activities, including commercial activities in Panama City. Slave rebellions also occurred in various parts of.
This is a point. Wobbles, please listen. Please listen. For your own sake. Mulatos Esmeralda. Stop listening to Culomeados. Culomeo is the weakest mofo on this fucking YouTube platform. That dude hides from the people that actually speak against his bullshit. He'll jump on the train on somebody that believes, as long as you give him money, bro. All he is a grifter. He knows by feeding your god darn emptiness, you're going to give him money and you're going to fall for it. So he's like, look, the Esmeraldas, you see, Africans were here first. Fuck no, man. These guys were African people from Africa that claimed to be that took the position of indigenous people. Everybody knows this shit over there, but apparently FBA, I don't understand why this tribe is so fucked up in the head, bro, that even after facts, you bring feelings.
The Spanish Empire, in some cases resulting in self-managed settlements by the slaves. One of these rebellions was led by the ancestors of the so-called mulattoes of Esmeraldas. Esmeraldas is a region that is now located in present-day Ecuador. These mulattoes were descendants of slaves who, after rebelling, became chieftains of indigenous territories, which is why they wear the gold ornaments on their faces typical of the local people. The work was painted at the end of the 10th century. Mulattoes made it to Quito, where they were showered with many gifts by the Spanish authorities. Finally, they paid allegiance to King Philip I and their chiefdoms were accepted by him. For this reason, they sent this portrait to the king as a way of introducing themselves to him. His painting was once exhibited in the world's largest art gallery, the Prado Museum in Madrid, where it is part of its collection. In the Spanish Empire, being a slave was not equivalent to having no rights. A slave could buy his freedom, own and transfer property and money, and even sue his master in court if he was treated too cruelly by the latter. There are rulings in which slaves were freed by the courts due to the cruel treatment they were given by their masters. Such is the case that the scientist Alexander von Humboldt witnessed in Lima, in which a mistress had cruelly mistreated her slave with scissors and the judge decided that the slave should be freed. These types of considerations were not present in the British or French empires. Most of the notable black or mulatto people known are from the 17th century, such as Chica da Silva, who is currently the only one who has managed to have a fictional series dedicated entirely to her life. This is about a black Brazilian woman who managed to climb the social ladder by becoming the concubine of a wealthy Portuguese man named João Fernandes. This type of relationship was common in Brazil, but this one stood out because of Fernandes's importance and its long duration. The couple had many children and when they separated, Fernandes took the boys to Portugal where they received an education, held good positions and even obtained titles of nobility.
This is where you get the Waboism. Oh, look, got light skin on me. I must be a native. No, you got Cracker Barrel running all through you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got Gringolandia blood running through you. Just because your hair ain't woolly don't mean you're a native. Did you mix with our people? Yes. But for the most part, you forced our women into that relationship. That's a fact. Partus sequitur ventrum did not apply to black folks. It applied to the natives. Those are facts. Let's go.
Da Silva kept the daughters and important properties in Brazil, becoming a lady of high society and even having her own slaves. Another case very similar to Chica da Silva's occurred in French Louisiana. This was Majidij's Matoyeg, a woman who also started out as a slave until a wealthy Frenchman wanted to free her and her children, get married and have more children. After the divorce, he returned to France and she kept all his properties and more than 200 slaves, thus becoming one of the richest women in Louisiana. And, of course, her heirs enjoyed her wealth. There were also Africans who achieved prominence in Africa, such as William Ansac Seseraku, son of John Correnti, ruler of Anamabo in present-day Ghana. John Correnti supplied slaves to Europeans and sent his son William to be educated in Great Britain. However, the captain of the ship transporting William to England betrayed him and sold him into slavery in Barbados. When his father learned of his whereabouts, years later he asked the British for his release and was able to study in Great Britain and ended up becoming a diplomat and slave trader. Yes, quite a few slave traders were Africans who captured them and supplied them to Europeans. Another prominent African diplomat was Miguel de Castro, an emissary from the Congo. When part of Congolese territory had changed from Portuguese to Dutch hands, Castro wanted to ask the Dutch to mediate in a local conflict that a count was having with the Congolese monarch. His journey took him through Dutch Brazil, where he was received by its governor, and he would finally end up in the Netherlands, where he obtained an audience with the Prince of Orange. During this stay, he was painted by a Dutch painter, as were his servants. There were also black people who stood out in Europe, such as Anton Wilhelm Amo.
So when you hear particular people pushing back, like, no, you guys were never over there, and it was all Arabs. No, not at all. Arabs were also enslaving them. So obviously, through that enslavement relationship, there was people that, would probably impress them. Like, you know what? I'm going to make you my captain or some sort. That's obvious. That is obvious because you see people like them in certain Arab towns. So that BS, like, oh, it was just Arab. No. We're talking about North Africans, West and Mid and Sub-Saharan. Predominantly, the leadership was of Arab descent. That doesn't mean that no so-called African didn't gain any reputation or position. That's fucking ridiculous. That's just white Anglo-Saxons being embarrassed by the fact that y'all got your asses kicked by them often, and you need their help often. You can't live without them at all. You can't rule a nation without them. Together, you need togetherness in order for you to be here. If it wasn't for you two, we would have smashed your asses. If it wasn't for the diseases, you would have been done.
His origins are not known for certain, but it is believed that he was kidnapped in Ghana and sold in Europe by Dutch slave traders. Once he arrived in Europe, he ended up being given as a gift to the Dukes of Brunswick, Wolfenbüttel, in Germany, who sent him to study at the University of Halle. He thus became a doctor of philosophy, in addition to knowing several languages. Some sources consider him the first black man in Europe to study at university, but the aforementioned Juan Latino would achieve the same almost 2 centuries earlier in Spain.
So it's like, yeah, you guys say him, he's the first one, but like 200 years ago, like Spaniards understood it was somebody else, Juan Latino way. Why do you guys lie? You see how the Anglo loves to lie?
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
It doesn't benefit them, and I understand, it doesn't benefit the white man to give the black man any credit. Of course not, because that's just the way they are. But you see how awkward it is also at the same time that it doesn't benefit the black man to admit what they fucking did, because then all the reparation bullshit goes out the door, all the Hebrew claims goes out the fucking door, all of this empathy shit goes out the fucking door. The same applies to the white man. If they find out this is really the facts, they're going to really sit down and say, holy shit, we're not superior than anybody. Nah, bro, you're not. You're not. Like, hello, but we are clearly seeing that these two nations created a history and fogged everything around it and told everybody else, poor me or look at me. Let's go.
Although his work in philosophy was admired, he did not manage to integrate into German society, nor did he manage to marry a woman. Possibly for this reason, he wrote his work The Rights of Africans in Europe, in which he claimed equal rights. Later he returned to his native land, where he ended his days. A similar case was that of Francis Williams, the first black man to study in Great Britain, specifically at Cambridge University, which did not keep his record, although he did obtain British citizenship. Williams was a Jamaican whose parents were free and were involved in the sugar business. They were wealthy and owned slaves, so they also had the means to pay for their son's studies. It seems that he became the Earl of Sandwich's experiment. Who was trying to prove that blacks could study just as well as whites? Which was the key that opened the door for him to be allowed to study? The experiment went so well that Williams ended up founding a school in Jamaica where he became a teacher. Although on the other hand, no experiment was necessary, since Juan Latino had already achieved it 2 centuries earlier. The Enlightenment philosopher David Hume himself dedicated these wonderful words to Williams. I don't know the irony. Abraham Gannibal stood out even more. He was an African prince who was kidnapped and enslaved by Ottoman slave traders and taken to Russia, where he was presented to Peter I the Great. Gannibal was sent to study in Paris, where he ended up fighting in the French army, reaching the rank of captain. He ended up becoming a military engineer, a major general and, take note, the governor of Tikhine in present-day Estonia. And what is even more surprising is that this gentleman is none other than the great-great-grandfather of the famous Russian poet Alexander Pushkin, who wrote a novel about him that was never finished. He is also the ancestor of British dukes and marquises such as the Duchess of Westminster, Natalia Grosvenor. One of his
Here's an example, and this is, I did a class on this a while ago. Watch this real quick. Miscegenation. Who's the real mamzer? Hey, Nate the Snake, who the real mamzer? Your daddy's white, bro. Oh, yeah, my brother, fuck that shit. Miscegenation. Making race in America. Miscegenation. Way before 1865. Way before. This is an 1830 picture. Nah, this ain't Jim Crow laws. Bullshit. This is an 1830 picture. Miscegenation. Miscegenation. Laws against it. Miscegenation. Miscegenators. Robert Smalls of Beaufort, I guess a politician, a ginger cake Negro, like the twins, ginger cake Negroes, moved to add the words And that any white person who lives and cohabits with a Negro or mulatto or person who shall have 1/8 or more of a Negro blood shall be disqualified from holding any office of the emulant of the trust in the state. So this ginger cake Negro was saying that if you have like more than 1/8, then you can't hold office. You see, even within themselves, bro. Miscegenation. Euro Africans. This is interesting. The range is wide enough and attractive enough to satisfy the most adventurous and exacting among us. He was not disposed to be disturbed by legitimate miscegenation in its ultimate effects, as they would take care of themselves as they had done ever since the present European and Caucasian races sprang from the Negro ancestors, the Euro-African. Miscegenation. Miscegenation. See, this is, like I told y'all, they love this about you. Even our indigenous people, unfortunately, y'all ain't bright enough to get it. Like, I don't know why you have a problem with being a chosen seed of the Most High. Like the Black Indians you see are indigenous Aborigines. So you're saying these people are from West Africa? Is that what you're fucking saying? So you're saying these are West African people? Or you're saying that you are these people? Where's the straight hair? Where's the thin lips? I mean, this guy looks like my mom's dad. Like, what is this? Well, let's continue. This is why it's important to know your history. Because you have thievery here. Thievery here. It says here, in his third voyage in 1898, he shipped 600 Indians back to Spain. The slave trade in Caribbean began as thus outward and not inward cargo, taken from, this is regarding the slave ships of our people, transported from West Indies to Spain rather than of Negroes transported from West Africa to the Caribbean. This is so fucking hilarious. Let me see if I'm going back. There are certain points I want to make. This is regarding slave ships, right? Us being on slave ships. All right, let's continue. Let's go.
Mulatto Sons was also a prominent soldier in the Russian army. Alongside this case, we could also mention that of Alexander de Medici, as he was another ruler in Europe, this time a mulatto, as he was recognized as the illegitimate son of Lorenzo II de Medici with an African servant. He was the
talks about certain people being the first dukes. The Duke of Medici. Interesting.
First Duke of Florence in the 10th century. Later, others emerged who, in addition to standing out, fought for the rights of Africans, such as Odeg Equiano, who was kidnapped in Africa as a child and sold into slavery. He passed through numerous owners and one of them named him after the Swedish monarch Gustavus Vasa in mockery. The name would also stay with him throughout his life. One of his owners enrolled him in school and later, thanks to his work as a sailor and merchant, he saved enough to buy his freedom. He ended up settling in London and joining the groups that wanted to see the end of slavery. Some
in my family that since 1492 all the way through 1905, it was prohibited for you to read and write, and there was no education for you indigenous unless you had money. So for almost 400 years, no reading, no writing, nothing. While these guys were getting educated, and they claiming that they've suffered the most.
Members of London's high society encouraged him to write and helped him publish his autobiographical work in order to make known the hardships of being a slave. He married an Englishwoman and his daughter married a reverend. Equiano argued that racial segregation could be fought through mixed marriages. For a long time, it was thought that this portrait was of Equiano, but more recent research suggests that it may have been Ignatius Sancho, a slave who was born on a ship and who also managed to buy his freedom.
You know where you get the concept Sancho? Now you know where you get the concept of Sancho, right? Your wife is with the Sancho. That's why we said since the beginning of time, the Spaniards and Portuguese eran una bola de cogelones. The British never really mixed among the people. These people did. Now we understand who they were. We just didn't know that they looked like that. You see what I'm saying, family? And has that really changed and shit? Some people are driven by the flesh, by sexual lust, by money, God knows what. You know what I'm saying? And all you got to do is sit back, look, and just kind of analyze. And you get all the answers. I don't know, man. I'm just very analytical. That's probably just because I see shit in a weird way. You know, I see things that people don't see. I don't know, man. But anyway, let's continue.
Becoming a writer and also joining the English abolitionist movement. Like Sancho, he ended his days in London, a city where he had a shop and where 2 plaques can now be seen in his memory. He was the first black person known to have had the right to vote in the elections to the English Parliament in the elections of 174 and 1780. France went much further in political matters, having its first black deputy after the French Revolution. Jean-Baptiste was a slave who bought his freedom. When the revolution broke out, Bell was already a captain of infantry in the colonies and represented the French department of Saint-Domingue, now Haiti, as a deputy, together with a mulatto and a European. From his position, he advocated for the abolition of slavery, which was achieved during that period. Unfortunately for B, Napoleon's arrival meant his arrest for holding the position of brigade commander and chief of the gendarmerie of Santo Domingo, and he would end his days in prison. Napoleon also restored slavery in that department. In the 13 English colonies, we must mention the large number of black and especially mulatto powerful people who owned slaves in North America since English colonization. They even had white servants who were convicts forced into servitude. The first registered owner in the 13 colonies, specifically in Virginia, was Anthony Johnson. In the mid-10th century, he was a servant from Portuguese Angola who ended up having his own lands and servants. There were many free blacks and especially mulattoes who suffered the same fate until Virginia laws changed and applied the Roman principle that a son should always have the status of his mother. And since the mothers of mulattoes were usually slaves, this made it quite difficult for more mulattoes to become property owners since they could not choose the status of their father, who was the white owner. The most striking cases would occur in the United States in the 19th century. One of the most notable was William Ellison, who became the largest slave owner in South Carolina, even buying the mother of his children. Yes, you heard right, the black man who became the largest owner of black slaves in one of the most slave-holding states in North America. Later, the descendants of these freed slaves who became wealthy continued in the work of their parents. Such is the case of Antoine de Buclet in Louisiana, the son of free parents who became one of the wealthiest men with the largest number of slaves in Louisiana and even had a political career. Although without a doubt the most curious case of all is that of the slave Disney Pope, who when buying her freedom wanted to buy that of her husband as well. Unfortunately, laws made it difficult to buy slaves and then free them, and when they were freed, they were usually forced to change status. So Pope bought his wife, but he didn't free her, so she was technically his slave. In an argument between the two, she became so angry that she sold her husband to her white neighbor. When she had calmed down, she wanted to take him back, but the neighbor refused to return him. In other cases, people in the same position as Disney Pope traded family members out of spite or for profit. There were also black ex-slaves like Nathaniel Butler who dedicated themselves to the slave trade and even returned escapees to their owners, making a great profit from it. Others did the opposite, like Frederick Douglass, a slave who escaped and settled in the North, where he was very involved in the abolitionist and women's rights movements. He was a pioneer in the civil rights movement. He married a white woman, causing great controversy, and obtained a position as a civil servant, in addition to being a writer. He came to advise Abraham Lincoln, to whom he recommended that he also arm blacks to fight in the Civil War, and he harangued blacks in favor of the cause. Later he held the position of Consul General of Haiti until he resigned and apologized for the imperialist pretensions of the United States over the country. From then on he became a defender of the Haitian cause. A similar case to Douglass was that of Louis Hayden, a slave who also escaped with his family and who ended up in the North fighting in favor of abolitionism, becoming a member of the Republican Party and a legislator. He was also a Grand Master Mason along with other blacks, despite the discrimination suffered within the organization by many of its white members, and he founded African American lodges. Cases of African Americans who made political careers as legislators or senators were numerous, especially in the second half of the 19th century and beyond, particularly in the state of Texas, where more than 50 names were registered, all of them from the Republican Party. As we can see, history is full of black figures whose biographies would leave anyone speechless. Meanwhile, Netflix and HBO are doing silly things.
The ancient Maya, one of the greatest civilizations in human history. Beneath the forests of Mexico and Central America lie the secrets of a sophisticated society that endured longer than the Roman Empire.
You're not supposed to have giant cities in a tropical forest.
For decades, archaeologists focused on the end of the ancient Maya.
Most Maya kingdoms were simply abandoned to the forest.
But the start of Maya society holds as many mysteries as its fall.
When do we start seeing Maya civilization? And that's a complex question.
Now, a new discovery is blowing apart long-held beliefs about the earliest Maya.
It would accommodate thousands, if not 10,000s of people.
A record-breaking monument has been found.
It's enormous. This is the most important finding in my career.
Hidden treasures unearthed.
And who's the lucky one?
And ancient skeletons.
All right, family, I had to run to the bathroom real quick. My bad. All right, so let's me skip to this real quick. I shared this book with y'all before we jump into anything else. I still got some of these sections to show you. Okay, give me a second, please. It's actually downloading right now. Hold on. It's downloading right now. Here it goes. So we have this book called The African Americans Many Rivers Crossed. Okay, Henry Louis Gates. Page, I think 1. It says, for generations, the Africans in the Americas between 1500 to 1540. Pay attention. All right. For generations, we understand the history of the New World, explorations and colonizations, primarily as a set of experiences of conquest and progress, more often than not with the most dire consequences for primitive, quote-unquote, native population that the first European explorers and settlers encountered. So see, it wasn't just white folks that looked at us as primitive, fam. It was them as well, just like the video earlier today. In case you didn't catch it, it's no different than this talk right here. You see this right here? Do you see this Canaanite woman? She tells our sister, like, you got diseases, you don't deserve to sit next to me, like straight white talking points, bro.
Hispanic-ass people don't deserve nothing in America. You understand?
You Hispanic-ass people deserve nothing in America. As if America is just North America. America is the entire continent. But let's continue.
Nothing. You don't even deserve to sit around me. You understand that shit? You don't deserve nothing out this You dirty, uneducated You!
Uneducated bitch. We didn't bring smallpox to America, black woman. We did not bring smallpox to America. It was people like you that brought smallpox to America. Who is the dirty one? This is what I mean by this, fam. Black plague, disease. It's not just the disease itself. It's the mindset.
You don't deserve to be around me. I'm being respectful. You get the fuck up. Get up.
She just insulted the lady. Then she says I'm being respectful. This is very common in my channel. Y'all show up and shit and you want to insult people. And that's just the way the household is, I guess. But let's continue.
Get up. Nah, you gotta get up. Get the up. Get up. Now you stand up, ho. Yep, now you stand up. Now you stand up, bitch. I don't give a You know where you at in America. We ain't in your country, we in my country, bitch. Yeah, sit over there with your people.
Where's CNN? Where's the FBA? Where's Black Lives Matter? Huh? Where's all you so-called, white people are racist? Now, this is just be swept under the rug as if, you know what I'm saying? We just are supposed to be primitive and have empathy for people like you. Fuck that shit. And the standard story continued. These ostensibly one-sided encounters inevitably act of humans' progress and quote-unquote evolutions laid the foundation for the creation of modern Western world, a great civilization to which we in the West are heirs. Then he continues. How can one measure of all that was lost in the systemic destruction and dislocation the civilization of the people whom we know today as the Native Americans? No, this is all people of the Americas. How can one fully take the toll in human suffering and the irrevocable losses to world civilization resulting from the 4 centuries of obliteration of the Mexica's people? Beginning with the conquest of the Taino, who is under the Mexica people, on the islands of the Hispaniola and the Arawak, who are of the Mexica people. This is the Mexica continent. And we have Tainos under the Mexica continent or Arawaks under the Mexica continent. And the Caribs of the Greater and Lesser Antillas, beginning in the late 15th and early 16th century, extending the domination and subjection of the great Inca and Aztec civilization. This is the Mexica continent under the Inca and the Aztec civilization in the 16th century, and culminating in the dreadful Trail of Tears in the decades of 1830. You see how this man, this educated man, doesn't matter what nationality he is, an educated man acknowinging the destruction of our people without a drop of mentioning themselves. No, this is a total focus on what happened to our gente from 1492 all the way to 1830, and we're not even done on 1848, right? But as Aristotle reports, Agathon, the Athenian tragic poet, saying, not even God can change the past. You see that? Not even God can change the past.
Oh, that's gonna hurt. Viva Mexico, cabrones!
You can try to distract us by claiming other histories, but even God can't change the fact. That's right. All of us are indigenous. Damn right, bro. Because they saw us all as Indios. They saw your gente as Indios, our gente as Indios. They all saw us the same shit. You know what I mean? But now we fell under this labelism. Latino, Hispanic. F that shit, man. They look at us in the same manner as, look, let me just continue reading. And while we certainly cannot change what has already happened, we as scholars, however, are duty bound to preserve the past by recording it in all of its complexity. Part of that process is restoring the historical records, the actions and words of the human beings who collectively made that past, restoring the role that persons of African descent have played in the creation of the saga. No, I'm sorry. Have played in the invasion and saga of the Western civilization has been the motivation for our creation of the African Americans documentary series and the writing of this book. You see, we're going to give credit where credit is due. You were slavers, you're invaders, and you still think that way. Now that your white daddy is allowing you to be racist, right? Because back in the 1960s, 50s, and 40s, you couldn't talk like that to the white man. Matter of fact, you couldn't even really talk like that to us around the white man because they would look at you like, are you fucking stupid? Now, all of a sudden, because your white daddy gave you the right to be racist blatantly on trains, planes, and automobiles, right? Now you can be. And then you resort to, reparations. The white man had me enslaved. I'm so black and poor and single. Fuck that shit, man. All that stuff is out the door. You know, Donald Trompetas did a great thing for us, gente. He really exposed the people that had been preserving the hate for you for a long time. That's what he did. That's why you have like people on the other side, like Nicky Tricky Butt Plug Fuentes, right? Who hates. He says, my dad is Irish and Mexican, and my mom's Italian. So let's clear this up, fam. If you ain't of indigenous bloodline, you're not Mexican. That's because that applies to the Mexica people of this continent. You see what I'm saying? So Nicky Tricky Butt Plug Fuentes, you're an Irishman and you're an Italian with kind of like the label of an American. That's what it is. It's just like here in North America. You got a bunch of people that want to be American, but then you're, no, where are you really from? I'm from Idaho. No, where are you really from? I'm from the South. No. Shut the hell up with all that shit. Where is your family, your fucking origin, your bloodline really from? Like, where's your food from? Where's your diet from? Right? Where's your... Oh, they mean that? Yeah, way back. Let's record again. In repopulating the Western Hemisphere through a series of voluntary and involuntary migrations over the past 500 years was never a one-sided process, and it was never solely an European experience. It may come as a surprise to many Americans to learn that African people played or enslaved an essential part of this process from the very beginning. According to one source, Alonso Prieto, which means Alonso dark or black, the pilot of Columbus ship, the Nina in 1492, was a mulatto. That's funny. And in 1503, the great Italian explorer was accompanied by a black cabin boy named Diego. The year after Columbus, you see this right here, family? You see this right here? So these people, along with Columbus, they knew who they were meeting. And that's why they did everything possible to destroy history. Listen, if we were just a bunch of indigenous savages worshiping the moon, the stars, the rivers, fucking ducks and shits, they would not destroy our history. They would have reserved it and recorded it and said, look, this is what we found. But no, they didn't. They destroyed it all and relabeled it, repackaged it, and told you something else. The year after Columbus returned from his final voyage to the Americas in 1504, groups of Africans began arriving in the Caribbean, and several Africans had arrived in 1502. So that 1619 bullshit story, please flush that down the toilet. No different than Willie Lynch letter. Please flush that shit down the toilet. No different than Rosa Parks' bullshit story. Please flush that down the toilet. It says here, brought to Hispaniola in the island composed of the modern Haiti and Dominican Republic. You see that? So it's since 1502, you were coming here. And you were, started off in the islands of Haiti and Dominican Republic by the Spanish governor of the island. By the Spanish governor. You see that? How you were right there with them. In 1508, Ponce de Leon, usually remembered for his exploration of Florida, which we just saw a video about it, in search of the legendary king of Ethiopia, Preston John, in his fable, Fountain of Youth. You see, all of this shit was imaginary stuff, bro. Took armed black men with him to conquer Puerto Rico. You see? How in the world can you claim this chapter, just even this chapter right here? How can you, so-called African American who claims to be a Hebrew, how the hell does this apply to you? You came with them. You took like them. You brought diseases like them. You raped or graped like them. You slaughtered like them. You burned people like them. You fed people to dogs like them. You were here the entire time helping out these people. And now you want to sit here and say you had nothing to do with this. No. You're going to run to this verse and make an excuse for everything? Nah, we're not going to let you do that. Because that would just, I mean, that would not be right. Diego Velázquez from 1511 to 1512 employed other Africans to help seize Cuba. In fact, Velázquez advised King Ferdinand that many black slaves, quote unquote, had assisted him in his conquest of the islands. Ultimately, by 1867, according to the Transatlantic Slave Trade Database, approximately 12.5 million Africans had been sold into the New World. Supposedly, of the 11 million or sold Africans who survived the Middle Passage, only about 388 were shipped directly to what has become the United States. So basically, out of all this portion, the one like the lady on the bus, right, the African slave trade on the New World, the largest forced migration in human history, shaped the course of colonization and spawned unique Afro-European societies and cultures stretching from North America to the Tierra del Fuego. Without the African presence, the history of the hemisphere and that rest of the modern world would have been vastly different. Yeah, we wouldn't have died of smallpox. That's for sure. It says here, and surprising, I would say, if not all of the first explorers and conquerors of New Spain were European, it is equally important and surprising to many of us to note that not all the first Africans were not all of the first Africans who assisted the Spanish and Portuguese came as slaves. On the contrary, an untold number of free people of African descent, black conquistadors. What's his name? The guy from Sakari. It was just one. Shut up. Born in Africa or on the Iberian Peninsula. Also accompanied Spanish conquistadors, such as Hernán Cortés and Ponce de León, two famous explorers of vast regions that would become modern Mexico and the western southern regions of the United States. And as we might expect, their exploits were just as heroic and just as problematic as those of their fellow conquistadors. But far more Africans came with the Spanish and Portuguese as slaves, servants with various degrees of freedom, attendants, and armed adventurers, while the number of African explorers, invaders, vessels of smallpox, is impossible to determine. They participated in some way in virtually all of the Spanish expeditions in the New World in the 16th century. These black conquistadors set an example of subsequent racial relations throughout the entire Spanish colonial experience, living their daily lives with the degrees of complexity that rarely would be achieved by black men and women in early English settlements in the Caribbean and in North America. Once again, I've said, in Mexico, we knew that the Spaniards and Portuguese eran cogelones. We also knew that the British weren't really like that. And we're like, but they're both white, so why are they like that? Now we know why. Because originally, these Spaniards and Portuguese weren't necessarily lacking melanin, so to speak. As a matter of fact, it says, indeed, wherever Spain set its flag of conquest in the Americas, Africans helped hold a pennant. Basically, you were holding their balls. They participated in the exploration of the lands that would become modern Mexico, Costa Rica, Honduras, Panama, Venezuela, Peru, and Chile, as well as Florida, Arizona, and New Mexico, and Texas. Why do you think Mexico kicked them out predominantly? Mexico is the only country, right, out of all the so-called Latino countries that you see the least amount of them. Because the Mexicas understand who the fuck you are. Or I should say the Mexicas. Let me rephrase that. The people in these lands understood who you are. Men such as Juan Garrido, Esteban Juan, John Rodriguez, Gaspar Yanga, Juan Bardales, Juan Garcia, Juan Beltran. You see who the Spaniards are, fam? That's why it's funny to me when a Negro comes over and says, you're a Spaniard. What the fuck are you talking about? You're the first Spaniards. You guys are officially the first Spaniards. Negros, you guys are the first Spaniards of the Americas. Do you understand that? So we're not changing history. We're just going back to what it truly was. Perhaps one of the best known and most colorful of the free black conquistadors was Juan Garrido. Was that the one that you were talking about, Sakari butt plug? Born in 1480 in West Africa, Garrido either was sold to Portuguese slave trade or somehow traveled in his own to Lisbon, where about 10% of the city was African at that time. In 1480, 10% was African. In about 1495, and you see, remember, in in Lisbon, right? Just in Lisbon. In 1495, he moved to Seville, there as a free man, perhaps in the employ of a Spaniard named Pedro Garrido. He joined the 1503 expedition of Governor Nicolás de Obando in Hispaniola, the first of many adventurers, the first of many. This is the book that referenced James Sweet, African Identity and Slave Resistance in the Portuguese Atlantic. Black Conquistadors, that's the book I showed you regarding Juan Garrido. Then it says here in the 1538 petitions of the Spanish crown, asking for financial support for his services and loyalty, Garrido described himself as a free black resident of Mexico City. You see what I'm saying, fam? So while we were trying to fight against these Spaniards, we weren't just pushing against white Spaniards. We were pushing back against mulatto Spaniards, negro Spaniards. Get the fuck out of here. Because you ain't helping us at all. Matter of fact, it's because of you, we weren't allowed to read and write, and that's a fact. And for all you, the rest of you so-called Latin American countries and shit that are predominantly of our people, this is why you hate, like, our gente, because we're the first ones that push back on these bastards. Y'all embraced it. We didn't. That's why you got Hondureños with hatred. That's why you had, American Cholo, he's in it, Hondureño, because you don't know what it's like to deal with people like that. You were down there with your people fucking sleeping around with them probably. That's why your spirit gets exposed again. Then it says here, who for the last 30 years or more had volunteered for his services to Spain. I was present at all the invasions and conquests and pacifications. You see that? Pacifications, which were carried out. You see that word pacification? This is why it's so common and easy for them to say illegal. I understand why Trump basically did y'all a favor. He exposed the very same people that look like you or what they really are about. Not all skinfolk is kinfolk. And the very clear example of the fact that this empathy, this so-called history between these two nations has been total bullshit. Neither one of them want to admit it. Garrido, along with many other free and enslaved blacks, had in fact participated in some of the famed expeditions by Spain against native or against the Mexica population, Taínos, Arawaks included. You see this? My brethren of this continent, how the so-called European white man and the so-called African black man work together to destroy your nation, to feed you to dogs. To burn you by the stake. To then hang you up by several trees and then say they put 12 of y'all and then the 13th and claim that's Jesus. They made a mockery out of you. They made a mockery out of you. And at what point will this matter to you? Let's remind ourselves, fam, that you cannot ignore history. You can, it's like in Spanish we say, no puedes tapar el sol con un dedo. You know what I mean? Like, no puedes tapar el sol con un dedo. You can't ignore the obvious. The obvious is in front of you. Garrido, along with many other free and enslaved blacks, had in fact participated in some of the famed expeditions by Spain against the Native American population. See these pictures here? Wobbles, where the fuck you at here? You're here on the left side. Those are the people that they encountered. It says in Puerto Rico, the third black man, a mixed race conquistador named Francisco Mejias, played a key role in establishing the island's first ranchers. At his ultimate death, at the hand of a Carib Indians, Mejias possessed more than 200 pesos in gold. Wow, bro. Wow, I can't, man. You know what?
Fuck that puto. Fuck that puto.
You heard it here first. Immediately after his Puerto Rican adventure, Garrido engaged in gold mining and secured several black slaves to assist him. With native populations estimated by European-induced diseases, See, with native populations decimated by European-induced diseases. No. By you guys. You see, here's where this guy doesn't admit it. You see this? You see? No, so you're a scholar, but to a certain extent. Here is where you exclude the fact that you guys brought smallpox. Not the European white man. The African man. Because we got all the other diseases. Syphilis, typhus, French pox. Those are sexualized, like sexual shit. You know what I'm saying? They didn't necessarily kill us as much as smallpox did. Labor shortage plagued Spanish efforts to mine, farm, and establish sugar plantations. So now we understand that while our people were being killed, now we know why history says, oh, they were bringing black slave over because, they were the ones that would handle bullshit. You were decimating our people on purpose. You are a disease. And I'm glad the scriptures say that the Most High is going to destroy you. It's not in my hands. I can only express facts. We look forward to it. Listen, what goes around comes around, man. Everything that you put out in this world will come back right to you. With a keen eye to the main chance, Garrido joined Spaniards who raided the Caribbean islands of Guadalupe, Dominica, and Santa Cruz in search of care of slaves. Native Americans with a reputation of fierceness and cannibalism, really. In 1513, and again in 1521, Garrido rejoined Ponce de Leon as he explored and claimed the islands of Bimini and all of Florida for Spain, thereby becoming the first known African to set foot on what was to become the United States. Hey, Wabos, how come you don't bring this shot? Why doesn't this matter to you? Colombianos, is this not important to you? Oh, that's right. You want that money, huh? You want that feria. That's cool. Be a grifter, bro. Because we know his name and the date of his landing in Florida, in a sense, we can say that Juan Garrido was the first African American. And it's somehow fitting and a bit ironic that his book is being published in the 500th anniversary year of Garrido's arrival in what is now the continental USA.
Gotcha, bitch.
You see this? So who are the real invaders? Who are the original invaders? Later, Garrido made his way to Cuba, where they joined forces, Hernán Cortés, yada, yada, yada. You guys can read that more. Take a picture of it. This is why they do what they do, fam.
Native Americans, I'm glad we killed them. W Buffalo Soldiers. Fuck Native Americans.
You see, he says, you Native Americans. I'm glad we killed you with Buffalo Soldiers. Well, I'm glad you admit it, but it was way before. But and this is the same dude that'll probably run against the white man and say, you fucking enslaved us, you this and that and whatever. The irony, bro. The irony and hypocrisy.
Native Americans, I'm glad we killed them. W Buffalo Soldiers. Fuck Native Americans. Our land now. Fuck Native.
You can suck a dick. Never have a job ass. You don't even love your own women. You get on this app and bash your own Black American women. You hate your own people. Women. Yeah, you hate your own people. You don't even.
2/3 of you was not going to wake up, and I see that crystal clear. 2/3 of you so-called Negroes are too far in love with the damn white man as women and children. Are you too damn much in love with the African, they women and children? Are you too damn much in love with the East Indian, they women and children? You're in love with everybody but your own women and your own children and each other. Your woman loves everybody but you. And the ones of you that can't get that corrected, you're going to die. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of your black women are going to die. I see that. That crystal see that. A lot of them going to die. Only about 10% of them going to make it. 90% of them ain't no damn good. I'm going to tell you plainly, and the Bible says the same thing. 90% of the black women ain't no damn good, and they going to die.
So you see that there's the rest of that video shows like they prefer, I guess not their kind. So let me get to my point here. We're going to go back to, let's see, I think right here. Let me read this to you first. Para que vean qué pendejos son, güey. I mean, if you got to be a real pendejo to say some shit like that. So this idiot here, it was a while ago. He says, "El estúpido." Obviously, the Africans didn't bring it over exclusively. It's a contagion, meaning it's contagious. They caught it from their captors, the Spanish. And they didn't bring it over exclusively. I don't know how you Hollywood Indians, see, there he goes. I don't know how you Hollywood Indians don't get flagged for hate speech and is beyond me. So the Africans didn't bring it. The Spanish gave it to the Africans, but yet the Indians are Hollywood? Okay. Got it. I'm going to show you that book, but I think I have it in the pictures here. So here we see, okay, this is the book called Cartas y Memorias. Is that it? Oh, no. It's the Cartas y Memorias is in Spanish. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get it real quick. What, you're not going to give me the link now? What's going on with this shit, dude? All right, well, let me continue. In the meantime, it says here, The Death of the MESHIACHA. I think the book is called, the book is called History of the Conquest of Mexico with a Preliminary View of the Ancient American Civilization and the Life and the Conquest of Hernán Cortés by William Prescott, right? So let's go back to page, we'll start at, let's see, we'll start here, okay? Page 434. It says, it was with no little regret that the general learned at this time that the death of his good friend MESHIACHA, the old lord of Tlaxcala, who had stood by him so steadily in his hour of adversity, he had fallen a victim to the terrible epidemic. You see, remember it says endemic, pandemic, then epidemic, right? Okay. The smallpox, which was now sweeping over the land like, page 35. Over the land like fire over the prairies, smiting down princes and peasants, and adding another to the long train of woes that followed the march of the white man. Supposedly. Now, remember, keep in mind, in Deuteronomy 28, in verse 22, it says that the Lord shall smite thee with the consumption and with a fever and with inflammation and with extreme burning. He also mentions with the sword and with blasting and with mildew. Some people are going to try to use certain translations, right? Fine, sounds good. Let me give you another one. Verse 27, the Lord shall smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou cannot be healed. Remember that? Verse 35 says the same thing. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed from the soles of thy foot unto the top of thy head. It says here that, and adding another to the long train of woes that followed the march of the white man and the black man, it was imported into the country, it is said, by a Negro slave in the fleet of Narvaez. It first broke out in Sempoala. The poor natives, ignorant of the best mode of treating the loathsome disorder, sought relief in their usual practice of bathing in cold water, which greatly aggravated their trouble. From Sempoala, it spread rapidly over the neighboring country, and penetrating through Tlaxcala, reached the Aztec capital, where Moctezuma's successor, Cuitlahua, fell one of its first victims. Hence, it swept down towards the borders of the Pacific, leaving its path down strewn with the dead bodies of natives who, in the strong language of the contemporary, perish in heaps like cattle stricken with murrain. It does not seem to have been fatal to the Spaniards or the Africans, many of whom probably had already had the disorder, and who were, at all events, acquainted with the proper method of treating it. Now, in Spanish, la primera fue el de viruela, y comenzó de esta manera, siendo capitán y gobernador Hernán Cortés, el tiempo que el capitán Pánfilo Narváez se desembarcó en esta tierra y en uno de sus navios o barcos vino un negro herido de viruelas, la cual enfermedad nunca en esta tierra se había visto, y esta sazón estaba esta Nueva España en extremo muy lleno de gente. Murieron como chinches almonteños. Eran tantos los difuntados que morían de aquella enfermedad que no había quien los enterrase, por lo cual en México los echaban en las acequias, porque entonces había muy grande copia de aguas y era muy grande hedor el que salía de los cuerpos muertos. So here it says that we were basically left to die for, right? Left to die for, right? So then not even what? The birds would pick you up? Now check this out. Check this out. Verse 26 says, and thy carcasses shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. Why? Because so many bodies would be dying that it would be like body after body after body that nobody would even have the time to bury them, bro. That's exactly what it said right there. Let me see if I can go up or down. Let me see. Hold on a second. I'm looking for it. Now here, this is from, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Leo Africanus history. Yes, Leo Africanus. Okay, this is the history of Africa written by Leo Africanus in the early 1500s, later printed in 1600, okay? It says here on page 38, remember, this is what kind of diseases the Africans are subject unto, okay? Wabos, pay attention. It says, if any of Barbary been infected with the disease commonly called the French pox, they die thereof for the most part and are seldom cured. You see that? So the people in North Africa, right, or even anywhere near, who have dealt with French pox, they die of that because they're not familiar with that disease. So the French brought that to them, right? So you see how that makes sense? That makes sense. When you're not familiar with the disease, it's going to kill you. So here we see that French pox was European, and it would kill these people. The disease beginneth with the kind of anguish and swelling, and that length break out unto the sores over the mountainous of Atlas, and throughout all Numidia and Libya, they scarcely know this disease, in so much that oftentimes the parties infected travel forthwith unto Numidia or the land of Negroes, in which places the air is so temperate that only one by remaining there they recover their perfect health. So it's so hot in there that heat kills the disease. Which one? The French pox, which is what? Familiar to who? Not African people. Europeans. Let me see. I already debunked this, so I don't need to even care about if we read it or not. It says here too. It says here, notwithstanding that Tunis over all the Italy, it is called the French disease. It is so called likewise in Egypt and in Syria, for there is a use as common proverb of cursing. The French pox takes you. Amongst the barbarians, a disease called Latin hernia is not so common, but in Egypt, the people are much troubled therewith. For some of the Egyptians have their cods oftentimes so swollen as it is incredible to report. Damn, shit. This is nasty, bro. Which infirmities is thought to be so common among them because they eat so much gum and salt cheese. Some of their children are subject unto the falling sickness, but when they grown to any stature, they are free from that disease. This tailing sickness likewise possessed the women of Barbary and of the land of the Negroes, who, to excuse it, say that they are taken with a spirit. In Barbary, the plague is rife every 10th, 15th, or 20th year, whereby great numbers of people consume, for they have no cure for the same, but only to rub the plague sores with certain ointments made of Armenian earth. In Numidia, they are affected with the plague scarce once in 100 years, and in the land of the Negroes, they know not the name of this disease because they never were subject thereunto. French pox. Makes sense. That makes perfect sense. But let's continue reading. That was actually regarding another topic, or eunuchs. Let me see here real quick. Hold on. Let me look for it, family. Hold on a second. I thought I had it here, man. What's going on, bro? Thought you had it already set, dog. Juice. Oh, okay. I see. I should have gone up, huh? Expense anyway. Let me see if I can get it this way. Oh, I had to go down. Give me a moment, family. I'll be right with you. I had a whole set of pictures already set because I know it's going to take a while with this computer, especially the media slowing down. Give me a second. It's probably time to purchase it, man. I hate to do it. Like, I don't want to spend more money. Give me a moment. Let me see if I can get it real quick. And shoot, if not, I'll just have to use the books. It'll slow me down a little bit, but it's not a big deal. Where are you at? Okay, so it's out of there. Boom. Boom. Let me try this one here. Okay, I used this already. I used that already. I used this already. Let me see if I hit here. Give me a moment, family. Give me a moment. I'll be right with you. I don't want to show you a bunch of links. Man, where the hell are you? Man, I guess maybe just the way it is. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes these things happen. I don't want to blame anything specific. I just find it so funny, bro, that the moment I want to use these things, they're not available. It just baffles me. Sometimes I wonder if it's me or if it's like something else. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a good amount of pictures for y'all. But apparently now they're not here. Let me see if I can do this. Just gonna have to do it the old school way. See, it's because I have a bunch of pictures, family. That's why. And let me see if I can go here. Got tons of pictures that I save. And there's a set of pictures that I took regarding smallpox. And for some odd reason, they're not categorized anymore. No, that was Belu's topic. And that's pretty much, hold on. It should be here. If not, we'll just move on. Let me see, I think it's here. So this is the book that he was talking about, Black Society in Spanish Florida, Africans in Early Exploration. Here we see the mentioning of African slaves or Latinos in Seville. You see that word right there. We see, obviously, black militias. Man. Qué mala onda, güey. Let's see. Hold on. If not, here's what I can do. I think this is it right here. Yep, this is it right here. Oh, no, the other way. Here we go. There we go. These are different books that I have, all right? So it says here, with men of Narvaez had come a black man suffering from smallpox, and he infected the household of Sempuela where he was quartered. And it spread from one Indian to another, and they, being so numerous and eating and sleeping together, quickly infected the whole country. It says, the Mexicans had never seen smallpox before and did not have even the European meager knowledge of how to deal with it. The old soldier chronicler Bernal Diaz del Castillo, look him up and find out books that he wrote, called the negro a very black dose for Mexico, for it was because of him that the whole country was stricken with a great many deaths. This is the visit of Narvaez left melancholy traces among the natives that made it long remembered. A Negro and his suite brought with him smallpox. The disease spread rapidly into that quarter of the country, and great numbers of Indian population soon fell victims to it. The Columbian Exchange, that's where that book is from, family. This one here. So go to look up the Columbian Exchange, the book, and on page 49, right, you're going to see this paragraph and then references number 30. That's the book that Bernal Diaz del Castillo mentions. Here we see the disease like the botchers of Egypt. Who brought it? They did. That never happened to them. How can you call yourselves a so-called Hebrew or indigenous? No. That's why we have to consider what this means. The stealing of a heritage, the blatant lies of the contribution they had with invasions, the rape, the murder, the slaughter, the feeding to dogs, the killing with diseases, the teaching us Christianity. The Maya conquistadors clearly state that these black padres hated the natives. It's not difficult to really see the obvious. Man, I wish the pictures didn't get scattered, family. I really had this stuff in order. I usually do, but apparently not today. Oh, no, not that one. That's not it.
Bit peaceful.
Damn it, man. Where are you? If I can't find it quickly, I will show you guys something real quick. Matter of fact, give me a second. Here's what I'm going to do, because I don't want to leave this out. I think it's important for us to understand and learn here. Oh, it came back. Before I forget, the book called the Cartas y Memorias, okay, on page 14, it talks about this right here. It says here, y es la misma que trajo a México el famoso esclavo negro de la expedición de Pámpilo Narváez. It talks about what? The viruela, right? Was it viruela? Was it? Doesn't I have that? No, not negro. Viruela, güey. Page 14. It says, pero lejos de ayudar a evitar el despoblamiento de nativos, la formación de pueblos ayudó en 1518 a propagar por las islas una de las más terribles epidemias de viruela y otras enfermedades del viejo mundo. Now, I'm going to show you something. Epidemias, viejo mundo, right? We hear all that stuff. We see what that means. Let me see if I can find a book. I have it here. I have here. Hold on. Where are you? What? What are you talking about? Oh, okay, let me get out of this crap here. I was gonna say, what? Okay, see, where are you? Okay, hold on. This is weird. I don't know what the fuck is going on here, man. All right, hold on a second. No, that's not it. Maybe this one? I think this is it. Hurry up, man. Yep, this is it. Okay, check this out, fam. Remember I mentioned regarding the necessity to learn and know the difference between, hold on, a endemic disease compared to a pandemic disease compared to an epidemic disease, right? I think we all understand that. So hold on a second. Let me send it over here. Come on, bro. Is it not? Oh, I think I know what it means. Hold on. I'm looking for this book. We spent some fam. I don't know what the hell is acting up like this. Why is it doing this now? So, okay. So let me just tell you something real quick, fam. In case you brothers and sisters were calling me, I was out of a phone for a while. And it was because my phone messed up on Sunday. And I had to get it replaced. Man, this is pissing me off. And now all of a sudden, it's really acting weird. As a matter of fact, this is worse than the phone I had before. Especially now. And maybe it's just because of the moment. I'm not making excuses, family. It's like let me see if I can get the PDF out. Give me a moment. Give me a moment, real quick. Come on, bro. All of a sudden now you're acting stupid, man. My bad, man. Let me close all these windows up. Let me close a bunch of these windows up. Maybe that's the problem. Supposedly this phone here is supposed to be better, but I don't see how it's better. It works so slow. Okay, I thought I fixed it. Damn, bro, come on. I'm sorry, fam. I'm not trying to get frustrated. It's just this is the slowest I've seen this phone work, and it's a new phone. The old phone was faster than this. Fucking shit. Maybe it's just the wicked spirits trying to slow down this flow. Here it goes right here. I got it. It's called A Voyage to the River Sierra Leone on the coast of Africa, containing an account of the trade. Let's see if it pulls up. Yep, here it goes. Now we're going to go to page. Come on, bro. Wow. This is crazy. All right, we're going to go to page 135 on this book. All right, give me a moment. We're going to go to page 135 here. All right. 35. And here we're going to see. All right, check this out. Keep in mind that we are speaking about either endemic diseases, pandemic diseases, or epidemic diseases, right? I think we're all clear on that. So when you look at page 135, and I'll just kind of summarize here regarding the white, matter of fact, I'll read it. A capital white trader who has resided nearly 30 years here. Let me show you guys who the book is. The Voyage to the River Sierra Leone on the coast of Africa, containing the accounts of the trade and productions of the country and the civil and religious customs and manners of the people, yada, 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 1791. We bring receipts here. We don't bring feelings. It says here, a capital white trader who has resided nearly 30 years upon the coast and who is otherwise a man of sense, told me very seriously that he once thought, as he supposed I did, but that he had seen so many surprising instances of their art he could not longer doubt. And he says, in the account of the most uncivilized countries that we've read of, we find the office of physicians is generally annexed to the priest or conjurers, meaning they don't have doctors. They do voodoo shit, like they do that here. But here it is carried on by old women, and the cures they perform are truly astonishing, particularly in the external wounds by the use of simples which their woods and fields afford in abundance. Watch this real quick. Again, we're talking about who brought what to our lands. The diseases that are most subject to are intermitting fevers and hold on. Give me a second, family. And the diseases they are most subject to are intermitting fevers and the hydrocele. The latter is supposed to be the cause by too frequent use of palm wine and excess of venery. Venery means venereal diseases. So through sexual acts, that's what they use your comments on. But check this out. The venereal disease is frequent, but never attended with those dreadful symptoms which too often accompany it in Europe. And it always easily cured. Neither can they be convinced that it proceeds from impure coition. And I believe they're talking about French pox. No, maybe French pox. It says, now, the smallpox is endemial. So here, they say here, so I'm assuming now that this is regarding the actual French pox, venereal disease, or whatever other disease, I don't know. I know French pox is a venereal disease, but here it says that they do deal with a venereal disease, frequent, right? Which too often accompany in Europe. So I guess this is French pox. It doesn't name it. Now, it follows up with another disease. Now, the smallpox is endemial, but it is not so frequent on the seacoast as it is in the interior country. We see this here? So smallpox comes from where, fam? Where does smallpox come from? The smallpox is endemial. So again, it's endemic. Now, what does endemic mean? Endemic means regularly occurring within an area or community, compared with epidemic, which happened to us, or a pandemic when after it spread worldwide from Africa. Let's see what's up, Ugo. It says, yeah, they're also proud of making the antidotes for the smallpox and giving it to Esau. I didn't know that. But these are facts, not fictionist stories that we deal with, family. These are not fictionist stories. A lot of us are still blind to facts. And we prefer to pay attention to fiction, which I believe you should not force yourselves to just kind of like, not say shit.
And you're
call stuff out for what it is. Call stuff out for what it is. And let's see if I can find it here. Let me see if I can find it here, family. Okay, so I showed that. I want to show you something real quick. Because there's some books that for some reason that I could not find. So maybe I can find them here. Give me a moment. And then we'll be done. Because I do have plans today. Give me a moment. Okay, here. Let's look at this real quick. And then we'll be done. I just want to follow up on some books that I couldn't find. Okay? So give me a moment here. Forgive me, my family. All right, let me close these up real quick. I'm going to show you just a little bit of this video, and then I'll finish it up with another one regarding some particular matters. And then we'll call it a day. And later on, I'll try to see if I can get to the from Babylon to America. All right. So without further ado, let's do the nature of it. Hold on a second. I'm in the wrong site. My bad. I'm over here reading it to y'all. Let me read it again. All right. So here, let me see if you guys can see it. First of all, make sure. Yeah. All right. You guys can see it, right? Still okay. Good. So here we see Narvaez brought with him a Negro who was in the smallpox, an unfortunate importation to that country. For the disease spread with inconceivable rapidity. And the Indians, who also suffered of French pox, but was brought by both the Europeans and the Africans, right? But died by thousands for not knowing the nature of it. They brought it to the fatal issue by throwing themselves into cold water in the heat of the disorder. Thus, black was the arrival of Narvaez.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
Is that racist, David? And blacker, still, the death of such multitudes of unfortunate souls.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
Is that racist, David? Which were sent into the other world without having an opportunity of being admitted to the bosom of our holy church. How insulting. How insulting. Page 236, let's just go to it real quick. I think it's just mentioning it. It's not a big deal. It's in the bottom. At this period, another prince of royal blood was elected to the throne of Mexico, for the former who had expelled us from the city was dead of smallpox. Again, smallpox. Now let's go to some books I have here. This is from, let's see. Where you at? This is from, hold on a second. 41. Yeah, this is from the 7 myths of the Spanish conquest. It's when he's talking about the Africans helping conquer. Okay? It's a good book. 140, page 140. It says on the bottom, for the 10 millennia, the Americas had been isolated from the rest of the world. The greater number of the people in the old world and the greater variety of domesticated animals from which such disease as smallpox, measles, and flu originated. You see this? The old world. It didn't say Europe. It said the old world. Europe, East, and also Africa. It says meant that Europeans and Africans arrived in the old world with a deadly array of germs. Oh my God. These germs still killed old world peoples, but they had developed rapidly high levels of immunity compared to Native Americans, who died rapidly in a staggering high number. Right? Page 41, 141. After half of Columbus' first voyage, the Native American population fell as much as 90%. It says here that smallpox seemed to be the culprit. Spanish and their Nahua allies moved through, blah, blah, blah. You guys can read it if you want. Disease moved through Americas faster than germ carrying European and Africans could.
Bruh. Wait a minute. Who are you?
It was brought to Mexico by Narvaez expedition in 1519, spread by the Spaniards and African, led by Cortez in Alvarado through central and southern Mexico and in Guatemala, traveling rapidly through Central America and in the early 1520s before fanning out across South America. This smallpox was pandemic, which is different than endemic. Endemic is local, meaning Africans actually had it, brought it, and they're the ones that took it, right? They're the ones that took it. Then it says here, these and successive waves of disease penetrated, up in North America, decimating the densely populated lower Mississippi and southwest in the Amazonia. Now, we know here in our land, if you believe in the Bible, that we were going to be attacked by smallpox, by foreigners of another nation that we never heard of, never known of, we never even spoke their language. It also said that we would diminish in Deuteronomy 28. But in Isaiah, it also says that even that we're going to diminish to the 10th part, to the 10%. Isaiah, I believe 6. Look it up. If you believe in the Bible, you're technically in there. But apparently you guys don't. So, let's continue. Let me see if I got more. War dogs. Here goes another page here, same book. Another first attributed to the Africans in Mexico was the bringing of smallpox to the mainland. Francisco de Eguía, one of the black slaves of Narvaez expedition in 1520, allegedly died of disease soon after landing in Mexico and the Mexican coast. Now, that was just one person. Unlike later expeditions, Africans did not participate in the conquest of Mexico in the hundreds. For as Bernal Diaz observed, at that time, blacks and horses were worth their weight in gold. Blacks and horses cost about the same. We were on the totem pole. And you're going to find out because we bring proof. And by the way, you know how they say that supposedly we're Spaniards and like we look this way because we mix with Spaniards? Okay. The Dominican chronicler Diego Duran, for example, mentions various servants and blacks, while the native account compiled by Sagahun, known to us as Florentine Codex, simply notes that the Spaniards came some blacks who had crisply curled dark hair. All African slaves and servants, hold on, as the first major conquerors of the mainland, the conquest of Mexico had helped inspire and finance a flurry of Spanish expeditions through the Americas. All included African slaves and servants, many of whom, like Juan Garrido and Juan Valiente, became and continued to fight as conquistadors.
Bruh.
As conquistadors. These expeditions can be placed in two groups, one part of the chain or relay system of the conquest that raided out from central Mexico to other parts of chains that conquerors ran into South America. So, who was involved in the conquering of the natives? White and black people. Who brought smallpox? Africans did. Who brought French pox, syphilis? European whites did, okay? And the Swati ones as well, because they were all doing the same shit. You're going to find out as you get further into it. So that's not hate talk. These are facts. We have them in English and in Spanish. Shut your ass up. These are facts. Well, since we're on this topic here, might as well. You see this here? Babos, y'all stupid. Y'all dumb. Seriously. Since I'm in the page, might as well. You see he paints his face black, right? Check this out. Color victory, body paint. After a revenge raid, the victorious warriors would stop and paint themselves in an informative manner before entering their tribal camp for the customary and tumultuous victory celebration. The warriors depict here in Sioux, who had adorned himself with several significant marks. His face was covered with grease and charcoal, the black indicating that the fire of revenge in his heart had burned out, and he wishes now to purge the event from his soul. It's the same book that I showed you. Here we see one, MESHIACHA. It was imported in the country by the said Negro slave in the fleet of Narvaez. It first broke out in Zampuela. The poor natives, ignorant of the best mode of treatment, the loathsome disorder, sought relief in their usual practice of bathing in cold water. We read that earlier. It didn't work. It does not seem to have been fatal to the Spaniards, many of whom were Swati, black too, and were sleeping with black women as well, importing them, enslaving them. Most of these guys were Sephardics, by the way, Sephardic Jews. Most of the Spaniards coming here were converts or Christians, but a lot of them were Sephardic Jews, fake Catholics, many of whom probably had already had the disorder. We know because remember the other book we read that Spaniards brought French pox to Africa? Well, since they were there, I'm sure they dealt with smallpox, and who were, at all events, acquainted with the proper method of treating. La primera fue de viruela y comenzó de esta manera, siendo capitán y gobernador Hernán Cortés al tiempo de que el capitán Pánfilo de Narváez desembarcó en esta tierra, en uno de sus navios, meaning ships, vino un negro herido de viruelas, la cual enfermedad nunca en esta tierra se había visto. Y esta sazón estaba esta Nueva España en extremo muy lleno de gente. This is just MESHIACHA, like how he died. Don't need to read that. Just says the same shit. Same thing. The visit of Narvaez left melancholy traces among the natives. The Negro in his suit brought with him smallpox. That's for later, maybe. Let me see if I can touch on this real quick. Let's continue.
Hi, welcome.
So I want to show you a little quick video. Cool, we're done with that part. I know we got stuff to do. That's it. One more short little video. I want to prove something real quick. Okay, we're talking about enslavement. We're talking about slavers. We're talking about people that enslaved people. We're also talking about, this type of thing. The disease regarding the stealing of a heritage, claiming to be somebody that you're not. So this reasonable, I guess, white woman, it does speak facts. We'll listen to about maybe somewhere around here. Depending how it goes. I think it shouldn't take too long. But let's listen in and then we'll be done.
So apparently it has started to happen, dear. The question of race on applications in this place. It used to be if you was white, you was just white. That was the box you checked. Or black, or whatever. Whatever the choice might be that you thought fit you. And now they're starting to ask white folks what type of white they might be. Honey, you're about to see a whole lot of confused, unmelanated fools. Because now you need to specify whether you're German, Italian, Irish, French. And if you're like me and your family has lived in this country since way back in the day, chances are you're a lot of the whites, honey. Chances are you are a lot of the whites. So you might not know which box to check. You'll probably go with whatever story your family told you, honey. You probably think that one of your great-grandmothers was a Cherokee Indian princess.
One might think. Just like white folks have been claiming this so-called negative, history now. We got negros doing the same shit, ignoring the historical aspect of their invasion as conquistadors. And disease carrying in vessels as dirty as the so-called white men. May I say it?
Family told you, honey. You probably think that one of your great-grandmothers was a Cherokee Indian princess, honey. You know who I'm talking to. There's a whole lot of white folks out here today that think your great-grandmother was a Cherokee Indian princess.
A whole lot of negros, too. Hold on a second. Let me say this.
Fuck that puto. Fuck that puto.
It ain't just white folks claiming this, fam. I'm telling you, I went to these little events and I was helping this lady out. She claimed to be a Native American. She brought her little card. It was a total white woman. I was like, whoa, I know she ain't.
You'll probably go with whatever story your family told you, honey. You probably think that one of your great-grandmothers was a Cherokee Indian princess, honey. You know who I'm talking to. There's a whole lot of white folks out here today that think your great-grandmother was a Cherokee Indian princess. Honey, that is a folk tale passed down in your family because somebody in your family was trying to take advantage of the federal government and get themselves a little piece of land for free. I'm sorry to break it to you, honey. I'm just sorry to break it to you. That's the way it goes. Yes, there wasn't that many Cherokee Indian princesses out there for all of our great-grandmothers to have been her. You understand what I'm saying to you? Okay. That's a fairy tale from way back in the day. But anyway, like take me for instance. Do I check the Irish box? Because a whole lot of my ancestors came over here as Irish indentured servants, dear. Yeah.
Irish indentured servants. By the way, black people and white folks both owned indentured servants. But just because you were white didn't mean you weren't a slave. You see, truth has to come back again. Because we've been lied to so many fucking years. And this goes for every single one of y'all. Exposing every single lie, regardless of who it affects.
They were considered just a little hair above a black or brown man. Yes. They hated them here, dear. They burned down their homes and their churches and they treated them like shit. Or am I French? Do I check French? Because a whole lot of my grandmother's family came down here. It was French. We're very much French in this family. I mean, come on, honey. They settled down here on the Gulf Coast. A lot of French shit down here.
During this 13 colony BS, all of this was going around. How come we don't ever be referencing any of these things? Somehow, some way, some people got advantage of land, proprietary shit, and cannot confirm that those grants were given by the people that originally owned those grants of land, towards land, grant deeds, right? White folks and black folks both stole these grant deeds from the native people. Both of y'all benefited from this conquering, and both of y'all will fucking pay.
So do I check that box? Or what about the Eastern European countries that some of my family migrated from way back in the day, as my genetic line moved up? Or what about my ancestry roots that are Jewish and from Mesopotamia in the times of Jesus, honey? What box do I check for that? Or my ancestors that migrated from Nigeria and Congo and Angolese?
You see the whole miscegenation? How we've been bamboozled, lied to since the beginning of time, or at least from our time, understanding of what's going on here within us. Anyways, I'm leaving y'all with this video here because we're going to follow up on this next title now. Not now, but later on, hopefully today or maybe early tomorrow, but I will do it definitely this weekend. I want to show you why. Let's see, here it goes right there. Who are these people? How do they know each other? Well, don't be surprised anymore, fam. Just like there were Freemasons regarding Prince Hall Freemasons, like black folks. Well, this shouldn't surprise you.
Legend of the Craft, Legend of the Temple.
I mean, on the Masonic and the Order of the Eastern Star, the Baphomet there.
Photo of George Washington's sash worn in the Revolutionary War at the time he resigned his commission in 1783. Oh boy. The building of Solomon's Temple. Oh look, this is George Washington's Masonic apron. Oh, look at that, George Washington. Okay. Oop, Thomas Jefferson. James Madison, check it out. James Monroe. Andrew Jackson.
Here you have Masonic presidents of our country. Masonic presidents. I'll zoom in here so you can read a little bit better. George Washington, Mason. Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, James Knox Polk, James Buchanan, Andrew Johnson, James Garfield, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, Warren Gamaliel Harding, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Harry S. Truman, Gerald Ford, the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man. There you have George Washington with a nice all-seeing eye radiating down over the White House. Nice imagery there. The white apron there, made of lamb's wool, and it symbolizes the veil that veils the Holy of Holies.
That's the veil that we're lifting, finally, family. Finally, we're lifting that veil also. We're lifting the skirts in our eyelids that for so long they told us to maintain. We're getting rid of all of that bullshit. It's time that you know the facts and get over your feelings. And today, if you're celebrating this damn stupid Virgin Day, let me remind you that the same very people that enslaved your ass, that fed you to dogs, that raped your daughters and mothers and sisters, and burned you to the stake and gave you a epidemic disease, is the same people that gave you the Virgin Mary, the Trinity, the bullshit Juan Diego story, the Padre Nuestro, the Credo, the Diez Mandamientos, the fucking Rosario, and all of that bullshit stuff that we were supposed to memorize. Tu pinche Santa Cruz, tu Catolicismo, all of that stuff, they brought it. The very same people that you supposedly don't like are the very same ones that you worship. Y'all are fools at this point if you continue.
The God of Masonry, which is right directly behind the veil. Excuse me there, I have to point there. That's the God of Masonry. You see the square, you see the compass, you know, this thing here, right there, the G in the middle, does not stand for God. It does not stand for geometry. It stands for generativity. It is a sex symbol. Okay?
Is a sex symbol. So, anyways, all right, family, that's all I got. Good to have you here, sis. Sorry, my bad. Hold on, let me just do this. Good to have you here, sis. Thank you, brother, for being here. Oh, hold on, let me just get rid of that this time. Jeremias, buenos dias. Good to have you here, brother. Yasharala. Yeah, they got their people crawling on their knees, bro. Like Sumarraga was the reason y'all fucking are where you're at. Matter of fact, let me show you real quick. Let me show you real quick, and then that'll be it. I'll show you real quick, okay? So as you can see, what is it called? Let's see, 1900, I think. Yeah, the Lutheran newsletter, the Lutheran Witness newsletter, okay? So now this is I have the book. I also had the link, but apparently it has been moved, edited, or deleted. No way. You see what they're doing, family? Look, the Lutheran Witness, it has been moved, edited, or deleted. Pfft, wow. I'm glad I did what I did. So this is dated September 7th, 1900. The Lutheran Witness, meaning, like Protestants, they're criticizing Catholics. And on the bottom it says, Dr. Francis Borden relates the following about the first Bible printed in Mexico and Christian Advocate. The printing press came to Mexico in 1539 I'm sorry, hold on a second. Let me see if you can see it. My bad. Yes, in 1539, for in that year, there was printed in Mexico in Spanish a brief compendium of the Christian doctrine. That means Padre Nuestro, Credo, Diez Mandamientos, Rosario, and what else? Credo, Diez Mandamientos, Rosario. Padre Nuestro, Credo, Diez Mandamientos, Rosario, and something else too. That was part of the brief Christian compendium, okay? Brief Christian compendium. Then it says, under the auspice of the famous Bishop Fray Juan Zumarraga, or de Zumarraga, which is who gave you the virgin fucking theory, the Virgen Maria, that it appeared to Juan Diego. No way. It didn't appear to Juan Diego. These are just people that worship the mother of Nimrod. That was just 81 years before the Mayflower brought the first pilgrims to the Plymouth Bay. From 1539 all the way through this year, by the way, it says 1810, but all the way through 1900, when the immortal Hidalgo raised his cry of Mexican independence, or during the 271 years of Spanish rule and misrule in Mexico, Spain, which contributed which a combination of black and white folks at that time, not only did not give Mexico a Bible, but sternly prohibited the publication of any part of the scriptures in the language of the Mexican people. That prohibition is still in force with regards to the printing of the Bible in any of the, 52 different languages and dialects and spoken in Mexico. You see this right there? It says, for 350 years, Mexican press has been at work on lives of saints and catechisms and the silliest, most vapid and immortal tales in Spanish and taken from the Italian and the French. But the Bible is today an unknown book in Mexico among the majority of the people. Not long since I gave a copy of Gospel according to St. John to an employee in the public bath here, he read it with delight, and as if it were a novel, and afterwards said to me, Senor, I'd like the little book very much, where it tells about the talk between Jesus and his disciples. Oh, wow. So as you can see, September 7th, 1900, and we literally have a history of them being Prince Hall Freemasons since early ages. So, don't come here and tell me about your fucking empathy or bullshit stories. I don't sit back and just sit. I don't believe that. Not ever. Not ever again. And especially now when you bring us your stupid ass Nimrod religion. And you got our people, once again, like worshiping Nimrod, bro. Like, oh my God, dog. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. But anyways, that's all I got. Sorry. Hey, sis, we'll go ahead and rewind the tape because we started early. You guys have a good day. Lord willing, I'll be back later on with the video regarding Babylon to America. All right? I'm only going to play one song and then we out. See you later.
En la Plaza de Reyes, la Sumenta, Soplón. Yeah. ¿Qué vas a saber? ¿Qué vas a saber tú? Oye, chibolito, faltóme. Pulpín de los pulpines, batería de Rapunzel, de rapeos, de raptos, de lagartos en cuartel. Cualquier la pega de cruel con un viejo coronel. Soy flojo, se me antojó dormirme en el laurel. Eleve mi level con un label y un Faber-Castell. Ya un papel, lo empape con sangre de todo aquel que se jura Nobel y no ve mis trenes en la riel. What's so man? Porque no sacan la tablet. Juro por mis aguas que no te hablo por las powers. Soy chinchano neto, búscame por pico sour y te voy a meter al centro loco como Beckenbauer. Escúchame atento mi bro, que estamos rompiéndole en pro. El negro de Plaza de Reyes como siempre rompe de este micrófono. Que quiere meterle como yo pero no puede meterle taco pro. Si te pensaba que solo era un gallo, déjame decirle que se equivocó. Real motherfucker feeling on the street. Es el Black Sheep, Black Sea Metal de Plaza de Kings. Motherfucker, soplum.
Nero Luigi, man, desempeño a la victoria para que sepa. Incas Mo, Money Gang Gang, yeah, yeah, Yo también he llorado, gente. También me han desplazado por mi rasgo afrodescendiente. Sí, un perro no habla pero siente. Cuento historias callejeras pa' barrios de delincuentes. Soy un perro que te ladra, que te muerde y que te huele, nene. Soy más que Lele, ustedes para mí son pelele. Con mi jauría todo el día en busca de los cheles. Tengo un perro en fiscalía que nos mueve los papeles y otro en la comisaría para evitar el susto. Muchas veces me han llevado por solo como luzco. Perdón, madre mía, si yo le causé un disgusto, pero en esta vía yo crecí rodeado de perros chuscos. Yo sé que me quieren ganar, yo sé que me quieren tumbar y no pasará porque soy de verdad. Está súper rafina la Dodo Style, metido en latina aprendiendo un Yo tengo el style, no mido la raza del perro, yo mido por la lealtad y yo soy leal, yeah. La calle te enseña lo que no te enseña la universidad, yeah. Saliste ese peña aquí con una seña te tiran para atrás, yeah. La calle limeña aquí nadie la dueña, ya nada es igual, yeah. Tiene que respetar, yeah. Tiene que respetar, yeah. La calle te enseña lo que no te enseña la universidad, yeah. Saliste ese peña aquí con una seña te tiran para atrás, yeah. La calle limeña aquí nada le dueña, ya nada es igual, yeah. Tienes que respetar, yeah. Si yo soy tu papá, yeah, yeah, yeah. Es Incas Mob, negro, yeah. Es Incas Mob, nigga, yeah. Nero Luigi, man, Incas Mob, yeah. It's Money Gang, 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 yeah.
Hey, yo. Yango en la maldita casa. Me llaman pa' que les dé al menos una vez al mes. Se metieron al lago y olvidaron que era el mes. For everybody bless. La fama es una puta, me está llamando a las 3. Dile que llame después de las 16 y 25. Volví de la infancia de Abraham Lincoln. Con fuerza ya inco, luchando para salir del rincón. Letra callejera en CD brinco. Under del under, puede que tu viejo te lo mande. Sale de vez en cuando como el cóndor por los Andes. Mi cuerpo no es de madera como Dandy. Antes que me branden, yo seré la ola que los expande. Aunque esto me pique en la madera, no sirven ni para romper el ticket de un evento afuera. Loco por la carrera, desafían la gravedad. Yo espero tras la barrera y llego con la novedad. Niña, tú solo espera que ya encontré la manera. He visto bastante por querer lograrlo saltando escalones dentro de la escalera. La vida me puso al depósito, yo soy de púlpito pa' que el mundo conociéramos. De esta parte mejor interprete que parido de esta cordillera. Sin luz afuera, que el espectáculo es dentro. La calle es mi templo, tiembla el pavimento cuando yo me concentro. Mis disparos son temas, la calle un poema. Se siente desde cuando entro. Y a toditos estos drogaditos que creen que rapean, los regreso al centro de mi balcón. Yo he visto el clon de clon en la misma gestión, pero a la malla no llega el balón. Y para esta pantalla no existe patrón. Yo ya me sé la cuestión y doy fe por cada renglón. Consciente de la operación del final de Mbappé con la edad de bufón. De Yango en la maldita casa. Plaza de Rey y papá. El Nero Luigi, Black Mental. Hip hop peruano. Rasgo en la maldita base. Yao, yao, yao.
Ical, hijo, abre los ojos. Tu cuerpo se queda con nosotros, pero tu espíritu debe seguir. Busca la luz. Aléjate de las sombras. Deja que nuestro dolor sea tu fuerza. Desde aquí iluminamos tu camino. como nosotros ante esta pena tan grande. Yo soy tú, tú eres yo. La muerte que hoy nos separa, mañana volverá a unirnos. Eres libre, hijo.